Chapter 582. It was unknown what the old man Pai and the other three were thinking. 2 days after Zhang Xiaobao came up with the idea, the old man Pai and the others really worked together and sent the idea to the capital. It seemed that they were really going to do it. After Lu Jiro continuously obtained good things, she also wanted to take a look at the bridge. The 4 old men greeted each other and formed a group to go to Wangjiang County. With the departure of the 4 old men, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's lives returned to relative peace. They didn't have to worry about government affairs anymore. Li Sun did not come over to disturb him. He was busy cultivating. Cultivating near the hidden mountain was different from other cultivators who wanted to develop their cultivation towards luxury. Li Sun's cultivation only required that the place was big enough to poop. The commoners in the villages near the hidden mountain who had nothing to do were all gathered by Li Sun to help him work. They didn't get paid. The commoners weren't angry because Li Sun said that after the path was built, he wouldn't find people outside to maintain it. He would choose people in the surrounding villages who usually couldn't find work to maintain it. Li Cheng, who was in charge, didn't know what Li Sun wanted to do. While the commoners were busy, he found Li Sun and asked for advice. "Young master, if others came and saw this path you built, they would probably laugh at you. The place is not small, but the hidden mountain here is not as good as Lake Tai. Why don't you make the path more luxurious?" Li Sun had always been asking Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan what they wanted to do. The design of the path was also proposed by the 2 of them. Today he was finally asked by someone else. He pretended to be profound and coughed and said, "You don't understand, right?" Li Cheng nodded his head vigorously, looking like he was waiting for guidance. However, he really didn't understand why the path was built in such a remote place, and it was so simple. If you don't understand, just ask. Don't keep it in your heart. Let me ask you, why do people live? Li Sun acted like an expert. "Why?" Li Cheng asked. It seemed like he was asking someone else, but it also seemed like he was asking himself. Too difficult, right? Then why are you alive? Li Sun asked again. Li Cheng did not answer immediately this time. Wei Wei lowered her head and thought. Li Sun was not in a hurry. He watched the people help him cultivate while waiting. Li Cheng thought for a while and replied, "Young master, I was sold into the manor when I was very young. I sold myself. At that time I didn't want to starve to death. At that time I lived to eat and fill my stomach. Later on, when I followed young master, it was different. I was able to make others look up to me. Sometimes, I relied on young master's identity to bully others. Later on, I ran to Sanshui County. When I saw that the restaurant was making money, I wanted to make more money. Now, I don't know why I still want to live. Young master is rich and so am I. Maybe it's a habit for me to live. If you think about it this way, it seems that even if I die, it doesn't matter." After listening to Li Cheng's words, Li Sun nodded in agreement. "You're not bad. You don't want to continue to climb to a high position. But I can't. I also have to be responsible for living. I'm afraid that if the goal is too small, it will be achieved in a few days. So I set a big goal for myself. I live to let the people of Tang live a good life." Li Sun's voice was not loud, but Li Cheng could hear Li Sun's determination. This goal was too big, but what did it have to do with cultivation? Without waiting for him to ask, Li Sun told him, "Other people's businesses are a waste of money and manpower. Fixing a good one is a waste of money. Even the luxurious decorations inside cost money. Most of the land occupied by a business is unused. The people who do the work in a business are also not working hard. It's a waste. Even if it's my own money that is wasted, I won't be such a person. As long as it's my thing, I will find a way to make it produce money and use the money on the people." "Young master, isn't it faster to make money by Lake Tai? Even if I don't go there, I can still make money. How can I not come here? What I want is not the prosperity of a certain place, but the prosperity of the whole Suzhou." Li Sun waved his hand hard, which meant that the whole Suzhou was included. Li Cheng watched from the side and suddenly realized that the former little prince had really grown up. It was time for him to get married. Li Cheng, although the Zhang family and the Wang family are still in Suzhou now, they won't care too much. They just gave me an idea and gave me the opportunity to build Suzhou. It was also their idea to build Xingzai and Qianshan and make it simple. Then, that's why. It's because my business is not a decoration. It's going to be a zoo and a botanical garden. As long as there are animals and plants that can be raised here, I will find a way to raise them. Don't worry about the entrance fee. You know the entrance fee, right? Everyone can look around. There will be people who will introduce it to you. If it's too luxurious, the people won't dare to come and see it. It's good to be simple. The people nearby will come and see it. After seeing it, they will help me promote it. When there are more animals and more famous, more people will come. Naturally, there will be rich people. The animals in the zoo and botanical garden will be made into dishes for them. They are willing to eat even if it's expensive. The local people can also sell souvenirs here, especially local specialties. And then the people will have money in their hands. They want to live a good life. The economy will gradually develop. Then we can collect entrance fees, right? Raising animals also costs money. Li Cheng suddenly became smart. Before Li Sun finished his words, he had guessed it. After he interrupted, he realized that he had interrupted young master. Li Sun didn't care. Seeing that Li Cheng could think of this, he nodded happily and said, "Yes, that's the arrangement. The house of the business is simple. When the rich people come, we will rent it to them. They can tear it down and build their own houses. The rent is enough to maintain the zoo and botanical garden. My identity is obvious. Even if they want to curry favor with me, they will have to spend that money. With them, there will be a market here. This place will gradually become prosperous. We will also build a tourist attraction in Qianshan and let them invest. That time. Do you understand?" Yes. At that time, young master can stay at home and collect money. Your identity as the commandery prince of Tang and will be more stable, Li Cheng replied. Wrong. At that time, I will leave and continue to be the commandery prince in another place. If I exchange the prosperity of Tong'an, which is Suzhou, for 2 or 3 large and poor places like this, Imperial Uncle will be willing. After all, I have collected too much rent here. The more prosperous it is, the more the court will lose. Li Sun was now addicted to building places. The poorer a place was, the more he wanted to go and develop it. Young master, you are so devoted to the people. I admire you. I will ask people to do it quickly. Li Cheng had heard Li Sun's words and admired him. Compared to Qianshan, where Li Sun lived, the winter in Qianshan was not too cold, but the capital had already snowed 3 times. At this time, it was impossible to transport beef and mutton from Yenzhou and other places in the north. The price of meat in the capital would increase. However, today was different from previous years. Although ordinary people could not eat meat casually, the increase in price was relatively small. It did not double or more, but only increased by less than 50%. The high price of beef was not only because there was not enough of it, but also because it was not allowed to be casually killed. Usually, when it could be transported from other places, the restaurant owners would think of ways to kill a few, especially in winter. As for mutton, it was purely a matter of transportation. As a result, the price of pork also increased by 40%. Those who could not afford mutton changed to eating pork. Sauerkraut was now popular. As a result, the price of pork increased a little, but this was not a big deal. With a pigeon flying from Suzhou, the Savant's restaurant immediately launched a new dish, braised pork with red wine. After that, the price of pork increased again and again. This time, the imperial court finally realized that something was wrong. The price of pork actually caused the transportation industry to prosper. The price of the hay that the livestock ate also increased. If there was not enough hay, there were still soybeans to eat. Following that, the prices of other goods also rose. This was the effect of a single popular item on the market. The abnormal concentration of consumption made the areas around the capital seem prosperous, but it also gave people the feeling that a storm was about to come. Li Longji in the imperial court with a sullen face asked the ministers who were shivering in the cold outside what to do. This time LV Yenzhua came out. He did not forget to scheme against Zhang Zhong. After explaining the cause and effect of the matter, he pointed the finger at the savant's restaurant. Not only did the savant's restaurant sell it, but they also taught the method of cooking. The savant's restaurant belonged to the Sanshui Zhang family. So why did they have this dish? It was because the Zhang family had wine. If others wanted to make it, they could only buy wine from the Zhang family. Other kinds of yellow wine were also fine, but yellow wine was not easy to preserve. If a large amount of yellow wine was produced locally, the food supply would not be able to keep up, and the consumption would be too large. It was different if it was diluted with a high degree of alcohol. The taste might not be as good, but it was still a delicious dish. No matter how expensive it was, it could not be compared to beef. Therefore, in this novel situation more people ate it. LV Yenzhua's intention was to arrest Zhang Zhong, and the two officials who followed in his footsteps were also impeached at the same time. In the end, very few people responded. The other officials did not cooperate. Some were already numb to it, some had businesses at home, and some had furniture and tea leaves that were given to them by others. Li Longji really wanted to use this opportunity to warn the Zhang family. This was too much. He already knew that the pigeon that flew over had given them a recipe. Even if they wanted to sell it, they could not do this. However, when he saw that the other officials were silent and only a few people were present, Li Longji did not dare to make a move on Zhang Zhong. This year's Shu province's rent and tax discount was 280,000 strings of cash, and this was after the dam burst. The Minister of Works, Lu Jiro, had also gone there to learn about the technology. Coupled with the bridge and the unfinished construction, it was impossible to transfer Zhang Zhong back, let alone arrest him. Without him, the Zhang family and the Wang family would not do anything. Li Longji sighed inwardly as he leaned back. He felt a warm sensation on his back. At this moment, he remembered the comfortable and warm chair he made was sent to him from Lu Zhou's place half a month ago. When he saw LV Yenzhua's expectant gaze, Li Longji pretended that this did not happen and continued to talk about other things. Hence, the morning court passed in an atmosphere where LV Yenzhua and the others were sullen and the other officials were relieved. After the court session, Li Longji wrote a letter to Bai Go, Yao Chong, and Lu Jiro. The meaning was for them to solve the problem and help the chair to sit on the leg of the pigeon that belonged to Shu province that was sent over a few days later. When Old Man Chang's family received the pigeon, they immediately sent it to Wangjiang County on a fast horse. When the letter arrived, Lu Jiro was leading the people from the Ministry of Works and her nephew to observe the bridge. It's back. The emperor has given the order. I don't know what the Zhang family wants to do, but why did they have to send a recipe at this time? They could have sent it in the summer. Isn't this a scam? Old Man Pai said to Lu Jiro after reading the letter. The four old men who wanted to stay had no choice but to take a carriage and rush back at the fastest speed. Their destination was the courtyard of the four little fellows from the Zhang family and the Wang family. 1, 2, 3 jump, 1, 2, 3 jump. Old Man Pai's group of four really didn't come to the wrong place. When they arrived, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were playing with a group of little fellows. They were just jumping with their legs together. After jumping and jumping, they jumped to the entrance of the courtyard. Zhang Xiaobao looked up and saw the four old men coming. He smiled and greeted them. For grandpas, have you seen the bridge? I thought it would take another 2 days to come back. I wanted to see more, but I can't. I'm slandering that meat made with wine. If I don't come back soon, I'll be slandering to death. Old Man Pai looked helplessly at Zhang Xiaobao's face that seemed to really know nothing. So Grandpa Bai wants to eat red braised pork made with wine. Isn't that simple? I'll get someone to make it right away. Zhang Xiaobao was very happy. No, I can't eat it. Pork is too expensive and so are other things. Xiaobao, shouldn't you say something? The emperor is unhappy. Look, the letter is here. Old Man Yao shook the paper in his hand and asked. Zhang Xiaobao secretly laughed and turned to look at Wang Wan. Wang Wan gave him a look, which meant that he should deal with the trouble he caused himself. Now turn around, it's time to jump back. Turn. Okay, 1, 2, 3 jump, 1, 2, 3 jump. Zhang Xiaobao let the little fellows continue to play. He gave the maid a look, and the maid continued to shout. Only then did he take Wang Wan and the 4 old men to a courtyard specially used for resting. Zhang Xiaobao and the 4 old men found a table and sat down. Wang Wan went to make tea. Under the gazes of the 4 old men, Zhang Xiaobao spoke. Actually, you can't blame my family for this. Can't my family make a new dish? You have to be reasonable. The main thing is that many people around the capital are not cooperating. It's just a little tiring and lazy, especially those who have zhuangzi. They think that it's too messy to raise zhuangzi. Otherwise, why would the price of pork go up? The meaning of Zhang Xiaobao's words couldn't be clearer. This was such a good technique, but it was actually resisted. The people in the north were lazy in winter, mainly because it was cold. But wasn't the coal and firewood very cheap in Huayuan County? Cotton cloth was introduced, and the price of linen in and around the capital dropped again and again. What's there to be afraid of wearing more? Can laziness lead a good life? The most infuriating thing was that those who have zhuangzi wanted to avoid such a good opportunity to increase their income. Raising pigs was dirty, so the price was raised a few times. See if they still dislike it. Your family is forcing the cow to drink water. No one said that we want to punish you. We just want to ask if there's any way to make up for it. Lu Jiro was a little embarrassed when she said this. Her family also didn't raise zhuangzi. It was cold in winter, so they didn't want to touch it. If they raised pigs in summer, the smell was too strong. Now they knew that the smell would be reduced by using the biogas pool. Zhang Xiaobao saw that the 4 old men didn't come to punish them, so his tone softened. Grandpa Lu, actually, my family didn't expect that one dish would be like this. We actually sent more than 10 dishes. I'll make braised pork ribs for you to eat later and boil crab meatballs with marrow. Grandpa Lu, quickly contact someone and tell them about the biogas pool. I don't believe that they don't raise pigs. Even if they raise pigs, they can only do it tomorrow. Now that the price of pork in and around the capital is too high, the price of pork must be reduced. What can your family do? Old Man Yao was most concerned about the present. What else can we do? Just take out the pork from Sanshui County. Chapter 583. Another pigeon flew to the capital from Suzhou. This time, Savant's restaurant presented a new dish of chicken and duck, with a few simple herbs. The recipe was written very well. Compared to pork, it seemed to be more beneficial to the body. It slightly diverted some people's attention from pork. Immediately after, Sanshui County and Huayuan County sent a large amount of pork to the capital. Most of it was frozen, and a small portion was live pigs. On the first morning of the pork, the city gates had just opened when people saw large carts. Some of them were carrying pigs with their legs tied up, while others were carrying half-frozen pork. As for how much there was, no one knew. Anyway, from the entrance to the end of the road, there were still carts transporting pork. The commoners and the soldiers guarding the city looked at the carts in a daze. They all knew how much pork was worth now. Who was this? Who transported so much pork? They probably made a lot of money this time. They were smart enough to keep the pork until now. After a while, the soldiers guarding the gate remembered to check. As soon as they walked in front of the first cart, they immediately raised a flag. The pattern on the flag was very cute. It was a rice seedling with big eyes. It was holding a bowl of feed in its arms. It held the edge with one hand and took out the feed with the other. Seeing this pattern, the soldiers guarding the gate sighed in relief. If it was real, then they didn't have to check each cart. It saved them a lot of trouble. The commoners in the capital also recognized this flag. It was the unique flag of the Zhang family of Sanshui County. When the wind blew, there was a golden border around the flag. If one looked carefully, they could see that the background of the rice seedling was actually a flood dragon. The Zhang family didn't do anything wrong. Others wouldn't dare to use such a thing. The leader of the guards said to the soldier beside him. The soldier nodded. Yes, yes. Only the Zhang family can suddenly take out so much pork. Go and see if there is anyone you know. If there is, don't check. The other guards nodded in agreement. Otherwise, how long would it take to check? With the arrival of a batch of pork in the capital, the price of pork immediately plummeted. All of the officials in the royal court, including Li Longji, knew just how capable the Zhang family and Wang family were. With just the strength of one family, they were able to affect the price of an entire capital. If not for the fact that Old Man Pai, Old Yao, and Old Lu had also written a letter to the capital, Li Longji would have already made a move on the Zhang clan and Wang clan. How could he allow a single party to control the prices of goods in the capital? There were 3 points written clearly in the letter. The first was to let the officials understand the importance of the economy. Whether it was to keep an eye on the merchants or to raise the status of the merchants, it was up to them to decide. They could not look down on the merchants like before. The second reason was the importance of breeding, especially set breeding. The consumption of food would be much lower, and at the same time, the methane pool could be used to reduce unpleasant smells and increase food production. The third reason was to let the people in Yenzhou and other places in the north use more sleighs when it snowed in winter. There were cows and sheep that froze to death there. Taking advantage of the rising prices of goods in the capital, they could be transported over and become a habit. The last point was the least important but also the most important. It was that the Zhang family and Wang clan could choose a good place to help the imperial clan set up a large-scale breeding farm to control the prices of goods. Li Longji was relieved when he saw the last point. He understood that rather than using it to control the prices of goods, it was more like using it to help him earn more money. This money was not controlled by the officials of the royal court, and the Ministry of Revenue could not control it. In the future, if he wanted to build a house or go out to hunt, he would no longer need to argue with the officials. At the same time, the Zhang family and Wang clan were showing that they were not ambitious. If they could affect the prices of goods in the capital, then they could naturally affect the prices of goods in Suzhou. It was almost the new year. In order to make the people of Suzhou more relaxed during the new year, the Zhang family's restaurant launched a series of new dishes. The pigs that had not yet grown up were also taken out to be slaughtered for meat. The price was also much higher, and it was no different from slaughtering the pigs that had grown up. Old Man Bai and the others had been eating for 10 consecutive days. There were 3 meals a day, and every meal had at least 10 dishes with pork in it. Surprisingly, they didn't get to eat the same dish. By the time they were satisfied with 300 dishes, they were already sick of it. When the 4 old men found the newly built kindergarten, a group of children were being watched and played in the yard. From the oldest to the youngest, the children of the rich families in Suzhou were all in the kindergarten. The oldest was 5 years old, and the youngest was a baby who had just turned 1 month old. However, there were no children younger than 1 year old here. Their families were reluctant to send children younger than 1 year old here. This was not only because the education environment of the Zhang family and Wang clan was good, but also because many families wanted to curry favor with Zhang Zhong. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were watching the children play in the courtyard at this time. The marble floor was covered with a carpet, and there were curtains around to block the wind. All kinds of toys were piled up there. Whoever wanted to play with them could grab them by themselves. However, most of the time the children snatched the toys from others. It was unknown whether it was a good idea to snatch others' toys, or if they wanted to play with others and make a seductive action. Xiao Bao. Old Man Pai did not go in. He waved and shouted to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Grandpa Bai, what's the matter? Zhang Xiaobao came out and asked in confusion. Change the dishes. We can't always eat like this. It's not us. We have a special recipe. If we don't want to eat the food sent by your family, we won't eat it. It's the servants who eat it every day. No one can stand it. Old Man Pai discussed. After all, they gave good food every day. Then what do we eat? Zhang Xiaobao felt that it was not bad. They ate meat every meal and they even changed the dishes. Why did they not want to eat anymore? Don't we still have chicken, duck and fish? Change it. There's something I want to ask. Where is your father going next? When your father first came here, he planned to stay for 2 years, which means that he would pay the rent twice. However, it seems that he can't do that. The bridge has been repaired, and Wangjiang restaurant has been built. There's also the housing of the commoners, and Li Sun wants to use his own money to build methane ponds for the commoners. I reckon that after the new year, your father's position will be changed. At most, he will stay until the beginning of summer. That's because he hasn't arrived yet. Once your family leaves, there will be a lot of positions left. When the time comes, it will be around the beginning of summer. Old Man Pai blushed a little as he spoke. It was really too much of a bully. He went to a place to build first, and when it was done, he was chased away before he could reap more benefits. However, there was no other way. Who asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family to build faster? When they arrived at a place, the place would be developed. There was no need to worry about anything at all. Therefore, they could not waste it. Of course, they had to use it as a knife. Zhang Xiaobao originally wanted to wait for a year, but he did not expect the imperial court to be so anxious. There were many good things in Xuzhou that had not been developed yet. If the new officials left, how could they continue to develop? Grandpa Bai, is it time to encourage the local officials to make as few political achievements as possible so that they can stay in the place longer? Zhang Xiaobao asked with sarcasm in his words. Old Man Pai did not know how to answer Zhang Xiaobao's question for a moment. At this moment, Old Man Yao spoke up. It is the imperial court that encourages the officials to continue to be promoted. Your father's next rank will definitely be higher than this. If he goes any higher, he will enter the capital. Grandpa Yao, you also know how dangerous that place is, right? My father is going in to play with others now. Every time he is promoted, my family has to take out the prescription. If he is promoted once a month, then he will only be a scattered official and an idle position. When there is no promotion, will he be conferred the title of king? This time, Zhang Xiaobao was really distressed. He could not always do this. The prescription had to be researched before he could give it to others. The beginning was simple, but the later it was, the more difficult it was. He could not let too many people know. Lu Jiro actually really wanted to get more prescriptions, but he also could not say it out loud. He could only use a negotiating tone and said, "Then let's wait until Xiaozhong. I will give your family more time to take up a portion of the business in Xuzhou." Thank you, Grandpa Lu. But can you guarantee that the new batch of officials will still act according to my father's plan? Next time when you go to Luoyang, don't promote your rank. Give them honorary positions. If they are of the same rank, don't give them any real power. Go there and mingle. Although Zhang Xiaobao said thank you, the expression on his face didn't show any gratitude at all. The 4 old men did not know what to say for a moment. Luoyang was a place for retirement. If they really arranged for Zhang Zhong to go there, then they could not let him go elsewhere to do things. Old Man Yao thought for a moment, then said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Why don't you arrange for your father to be a provincial governor in another province, one closer to the capital?" Zhang Xiaobao was also very happy. He immediately nodded and agreed. "Yes, okay. It's good to hear Grandpa Yao's words. Then arrange for my father to go to Yaozhou. My father is familiar with that place." Clearly knowing that this was impossible, Zhang Xiaobao deliberately asked. Indeed, the 4 old men shook their heads without any thought. "Xiaobao, your father can't go to that place. Although it's also an upper province, there's the distant Huayuan County there. It's so close to your family's Sanshui County. How can we arrange for your father to go there? Even if we agree, the capital's imperial court will not agree. Change locations." When Old Man Lu heard that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to arrange for his father to go to Yaozhou, he shook his head vigorously. He definitely could not let Zhang Zhong return to that place. The Zhang family's roots were there. If he connected them and it was so close to the capital in the future, things would not be easy. Then go to Luoyang. Definitely don't arrange for any actual position. Zhang Xiaobao continued to bargain. Old Man Pai saw that this could not go on, so he could only say, "We'll discuss this matter again. Xiaobao, it's cold. Can you arrange a few more activities, especially the one at Lake Tai like last time?" When the four old men came over, they had actually thought of this problem. It was mainly to learn. After Zhang Zhong left, the next provincial governor could do the same. Zhang Xiaobao really did not think of any activities. It was neither hot nor cold here. It was not like the capital, where he could properly organize. When he heard Old Man Pai's question, he pondered for a moment before saying, "Well, let's see what Prince Li does." Chapter 584. When the ice lanterns in the capital were lit up one by one, it also meant that the new year was approaching. There was no need to wait until the night of the 30th, let alone the 15th of the first lunar month. The merchants in the capital took advantage of the cold weather to fish enough ice from the river, and found skilled craftsmen to start advertising their shops. The weather in Suzhou was also cold enough to make people feel gloomy and cold. This kind of cold made the people north of the Yellow River uncomfortable. It was not so cold, but it was always cold. In addition, the warmth was not as good as the north. It seemed that whether it was inside or outside the house, it was very cold. Lu Jiro, who came to Suzhou to study and couldn't go back before the new year, suddenly fell ill. She didn't know whether it was because of her age or because of the air pressure and blood pressure in this kind of weather. Anyway, she still couldn't hold on under the condition that the Zhang family specially provided her with food. When the accompanying imperial doctor who came with his team to Suzhou shook his head and sighed after checking the pulse, Old Man Lu was pushed to a room that the Zhang family had just built for medical experiments. Use the best ginseng to save her life. She has been working hard for many days. The imperial doctor didn't have any hope of saving Lu Jiro. He could only remind Old Man Pai and the other two old men who were also anxious outside, and ask them to find the Zhang family to use 100-year-old ginseng. He believed that the Zhang family could definitely find a lot of precious medicinal materials, and 100-year-old ginseng was nothing. Old Man Yao really hadn't seen the medical team of the Zhang family, and he didn't know how powerful this team, which had always been regarded as the highest medical team in the Tang Empire, was. Lu Jiro fell down in front of the three old men, and he was so anxious that he really wanted to find the Zhang family to get the ginseng. "Wenji, don't worry. Let's wait and see." Old Man Pai was also very worried. Lu Jiro was not like them. She had already left the court. Even if something really happened to her, it wouldn't have a big impact on the court. If Lu Jiro suddenly died in Suzhou, it would be chaotic. But he didn't agree with the words of the imperial physician who came with them. If they really needed 100-year-old ginseng to keep them alive, the Zhang family would naturally take it out without anyone saying anything. As long as they had medicinal herbs, they would never be stingy. Seeing that Lu Jiro was pushed into the room, she pulled old Yao's sleeve and walked to the side saying, "Yuanji, follow me. From here, you can see the methods of the Zhang family's medical team." The three old men and a few people who were related to Lu Jiro came to a place outside the emergency room. There were 2 glass windows here, and they could see the situation inside from the outside. The 3 old men, including the imperial physician who had just given Lu Jiro a death sentence, were squeezing together and looking inside. At this moment, Lu Jiro was lying on the bed. A doctor was giving her acupuncture treatment. One needle after another. He continuously pierced more than 20 places, but Lu Jiro still didn't wake up. Moreover, her face was ashen. "It's useless, it's completely useless. If it could be done with a needle, I would have done it earlier." The imperial physician shook his head and sighed. "Don't make a sound." Old Man Pai glared at the imperial physician with dissatisfaction, then turned back to watch by himself. At this time, the doctor found another doctor, who was also a doctor, and after the 2 of them whispered a few words, the other doctor immediately ran to a nearby room. When he came out, there were a few people following behind him. When they saw the things in their hands, the 3 old men were stunned. Generator, why did they bring the generator here at this time? Old man Chong knew the use of generators, but he never thought that they could be used in a situation like this. Old man Pai also didn't understand what the Zhang family's medical team wanted to do, so he watched them fiddle with the generator for a while. Then, someone began to energetically kick the generator. The generator's wires extended out and were placed in a sink. At the top of the sink, there was something like a cover that was connected to a pipe. At the other end of the pipe, there was also a small cover that directly covered Lu Jiro's mouth. After a few breaths, the doctor seemed to be dissatisfied. Immediately, someone brought another set of generators and connected the pipe to the cover above Lu Jiro's mouth. Looking at how skilled they were in doing this, even they didn't know if it would succeed. This was also an experimental project. Right now, it hadn't been systematized, and they didn't have any experience. The nurse, on the side, kept wiping the sweat of the doctor who was checking her pulse. The atmosphere was very tense. There was even someone there who was pressing on Lu Jiro's chest according to a certain rhythm. When the doctor who came with the team was about to speak, a miracle finally happened. Lu Jiro, who had already fainted, opened her eyes, and her face was not as ugly as before. Impossible, this is impossible. If a person can be saved by wearing a cover, then what do we need doctors for? The doctor rubbed his eyes in disbelief and said in a very loud voice, "Shut up, I didn't ask you to come with a team to care about this and that. I asked you to come and learn from the Zhang family's medical team. What nonsense are you talking about? How can you know the Zhang family's methods?" At this time, the one who spoke wasn't Old Man Pai or any of the three old men, but the bodyguard in charge of protecting Lu Jiro. After arriving in Suzhou, he seemed to be very free and didn't need his protection at all. At this time, when he heard the doctor shouting, he didn't want to disturb the people in the house, so he bluntly scolded him. The doctor shivered, and only then did he remember the purpose of the Imperial Hospital sending him out. One was to help treat the people in the team on the road, and the other was to learn from the Zhang family's medical team after arriving in Suzhou. After arriving in Suzhou, he didn't need to personally treat patients. After being scolded by Lu Jiro's bodyguard, he didn't dare to shout as loudly as before, but he couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart. He opened his eyes wide and stared unblinkingly at Lu Jiro, who was gasping for breath under the doctor's instructions, but his mouth was muttering in a low voice. "How is this possible? Is this a new kind of curse?" He regarded this as a curse used to treat diseases. Usually, when treating diseases, some kind of corresponding curse would be used at the same time as acupuncture and medicine. In the eyes of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, this curse actually played a psychological role for the patient to be able to strengthen the patient's confidence. The Zhang family's medical team would also learn and use it. The doctor's murmur wasn't loud, but the three old men still heard it. They didn't believe that the Zhang family's medical team would use a curse. When they turned their heads, they saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had just received the news and hurried over. So Old Man Pai hurriedly ran over and pulled the two people over. He pointed at the situation inside and asked, "Xiaobao, Cuckoo, what is that?" Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan leaned in front of the glass window and understood. This was the theory that had just been proposed, but they didn't expect it to be used now. However, the effect wasn't so ideal. It actually required 2 generators to support it, which was far worse than oxygen tanks. Grandpa Bai, this actually doesn't have to be used when saving people. Even if it's used during normal times, it's more comfortable to breathe with this thing, but the technology is still not good enough. We have to continue experimenting, and when it's further improved, it'll be more useful. Chapter 585. Lu Jiro successfully came back to life. After seeing Old Man Pai and the other 2 people, she began to say that she had gone to another place. Time passed very slowly, as if she was recalling her entire life. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also heard these words, but the 2 of them absolutely did not believe that they had gone to another place. The 2 of them came from another place, and at that time, they directly lost all of their senses in an instant. The moment they opened their eyes, they were already in another world. It was very magical. The two of them also discussed whether this was in line with science or not. The final conclusion was that it was not in line with science in a narrow sense, but in line with science in a broad sense. The two of them defined science in a narrow sense as science based on existing scientific theories, and defined science in a broad sense as science that required research and exploration. The unknown did not mean that it was not scientific, but that the research had not reached that point. As for what Old Man Lu said about time passing slowly, it was because the mind was too fast. Under the situation of lack of oxygen, the human body's oxygen supply would try to supply oxygen to the brain, and for a certain period of time the mind would be more agile. Yuanji, guess what I saw at that time? Lu Jiro laid on the bed and asked Old Man Yao. How would Old Man Yao know? He shook his head in confusion, wanting to hear more information from Lu Jiro's mouth. Not only him, Old Man Pai, Old Man Chong, and Zhang Xiaobao's two people were all in front of the bed listening, hoping to understand what was going on in the underworld. Without waiting for Lu Jiro to speak, Zhang Xiaobao said from the side, Grandpa Lu, at that time, did you feel that time passed very slowly, and then it seemed that the surrounding things were very close to you but also very far away, and then there were stars in front of you as if you were in a vast starry sky? When you woke up, you felt that your whole body was numb, even your neck was numb, your hand was still trembling in Weiwei's hand, and the distant scenery and sounds came back to you. Yes, that's right. Xiaobao, how did you know? Lu Jiro was stunned, then nodded fiercely. Zhang Xiaobao smiled a little and didn't explain. Wang Wan continued. Grandpa Lu, did you find that after you felt numb for a while, you found that your breathing was very comfortable, as if it had just rained in summer and there was a gentle breeze? Yes, that's right. Don't tell me you know what hell is like. Lu Jiro was even more surprised. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't say anything else. They turned around and left together, leaving the four old men puzzled. They were the only ones who were puzzled, but the others were not. The members of the Zhang family and the Wang family, as well as the people in the inner yard, understood what was going on. The more they understood, the more they couldn't say. After greeting the members of the Zhang family and Wang family, they left in a hurry. Lu Jiro's life is too good. She was already at the gates of hell, but she was pulled back by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. It seems that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo went to the gates of hell every now and then. Otherwise, how could they know so clearly? Pulling someone and going there yourself, isn't it different? Use the immortal power that you don't need, right? Zhang Zhong said to Jiang Wang clan as he walked. Jiang Wang clan agreed and said, No wonder Xiao Bao and Cuckoo made a generator. It's because of this. There's one in our room and we're waiting to use it. Let's go back and try it later and see how it feels to breathe in that place. Don't. That's a life-saving thing. Maybe the more you use it, the more harm it will do to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Lu Jiro is going to benefit from it. Zhang Zhong looked back at Lu Jiro's ward and said with jealousy. Not only Zhang Zhong and Jiang Wang clan, but the people in the inner yard who served Lu Jiro also felt that it was not worth saving such a person. Why should they save such a person? Therefore they were even more humble. In fact, they were looking down on Lu Jiro. So what if she was a minister? Didn't she still need the help of an immortal? Some people even whispered in private. The king of hell wants people to die at midnight. Little young master and little young lady said to stay at midnight. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also whispering. Xiaobao, what do you think is the cause of this illness? Is it because the food is not good enough? I don't think it has much to do with the food. It's mainly a problem with the occupation. It's an occupational disease. How many people don't have cardiovascular diseases? Zhang Xiaobao knew more about this. Although the officials usually looked good, in fact, their bodies were very overdrawn. The two people slowly walked back to the younger brother and sister's courtyard. Along the way they talked about the same thing. As for the various reactions, it was very normal. Those who suffered from this illness were basically like this. When they saw the house and the little guys in it, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly said, Since many people can suffer from this illness, It's better to sell them special recipes and prepared medicine. You want to make money from this. But I think the possibility of you making money is very small. I don't think that so many officials will listen to you and buy it. Do you dare not to give it to them? Wang Wan was also a little tempted, but when she considered the various matters in reality, she had no choice but to remind him. Zhang Xiaobao was still thinking about how much the recipes and medicine could be sold for. When he heard Wang Wan's words, he felt very helpless. Indeed, even if he could produce the medicine to control this illness, he might not be able to sell it for a good price. However, he was unwilling to give up such a huge profit. After some thought, he said, "How about this? Let's not directly ask the officials if they want to buy the medicine. Instead, we'll specially buy a place in the capital and Luoyang to let others know what this place is selling. Then we'll tell them the benefits. Finally, we'll post a notice in front of the shop. On it, some officials can receive a month's worth of medicine for free. Furthermore, we'll deliberately raise the price and let the officials try it first. Then, the officials will be able to buy it." Wang Wan did not believe that the officials would be willing to buy it just by raising the price. Of course, they won't buy it if we let them spend their own money. However, we can use other methods. For example, we can give them vouchers of the same value. Using such vouchers to buy medicine worth 10 strings of coins only requires 1 string of coins. Furthermore, they can receive a gift worth 2 strings of coins for free. The cost of this gift is 10 strings of coins. It's best if it's something they need in their daily lives, such as vegetable oil or cloth. It allows them to buy the medicine without actually having to pay anything. Can be used to attract other rich people. Now, we can't earn the officials' money, nor can we earn the government's money like we did in the past. We can only use them to earn the money of others. There are plenty of rich people. Regardless of whether the medicine is really for the illness or not, I believe that rich people will be willing to buy it and use it. The officials will serve as role models. As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao happened to see his sister Little Bei, wearing a thick down coat, running out of the yard while giggling. As she ran, she looked back and immediately said, "Look, Little Bei and the rest are constantly changing their clothes as their bodies rapidly grow. How can they not save more money? Risque, don't drag Little Bei into this. How much money can a few children spend? Little Bei, come to elder sister. Io, whose clothes did you steal and put on another layer? Be careful not to get hot." Wang Wan clapped her hands at Little Bei, who had just run out. Little Bei was running in a daze when she heard the sound and turned her head to see Wang Wan. She opened her small arms and looked back nervously while running over with her little legs. When she got closer, Wang Wan discovered that Little Bei actually had an extra layer of clothes on her body. It was bulging like a ball. Following Lu Jiro's illness, the restaurant Between the Clouds and Clouds here immediately made a special recipe for her. The news was also sent to Beijing. Between the Clouds and the Water also jointly launched a variety of new dishes specifically for cardiovascular diseases. Not to mention other aspects, at the very least, the consumption of aged vinegar increased. In a short period of time, several vinegar factories with poor results ushered in spring. The sales of pomegranates wood ears also increased greatly. At the same time, the demand for meat decreased, making the price of meat more stable in Beijing and the surrounding areas. The people who planted greenhouses were now benefiting. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's operation once again made people feel the power of the tide. Before the arrival of the new year, some people were happy, while others were worried. The happy ones were naturally the people who wanted to buy meat and sell vegetables, while the worried ones were the people in the imperial court. Twice it had already been twice. The prices were actually affected by the Zhang family who was still in Suzhou. In fact, the officials also understood that it was them who pushed this matter. If they continued to buy meat in large quantities, the price of meat would not fall. But who told them to be afraid of death? After knowing that Minister Lu almost passed out because he ate too much meat, they all adjusted their diet according to the method of day hospital. It's not that they ate too much meat, but that they usually have too many thoughts. Why didn't they mention this matter? Hypocritical, it's really too hypocritical. After Wang Wan received the news 5 days before the arrival of the new year, she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "This is not hypocritical. This is not hypocrisy, this is the truth. Human nature is like this. Not to mention adults, even children will often use crying methods to achieve their goals. It's almost the new year, and in the next year the peaches will appear. That will be the moment when the imperial court is truly hypocritical. Let's see where they will arrange for my father." Zhang Xiaobao seemed a little helpless. Suzhou was originally an upper province. Except for Beijing and Luoyang, no matter where he was transferred, the best he could do was to be transferred to the same level. His family did not want to go to Beijing, and Old Man Pai and the others in Luoyang were not willing to go either. According to a good way to put it, it was called experience. They wanted his father to keep changing places. A bad way to put it was to use his father as a tool and arrange for him to do construction in other places. It was a scheme against each other. Arranging his father to other places that needed him was because the imperial court wanted to use their power to increase the rent tax. However, wasn't he using his official position to open a business? However, this time he had to carefully study it. Going to Luoyang was an exchange. If they did not agree, then he had to take out the corresponding compensation. He could not just casually arrange it. Just as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were preparing for the greatest benefits in Zhang San's career, Lu Jiro, Old Man Pai, and the others who had already recovered, came looking for him again. Lu Jiro, who could no longer rush back for the new year, decided to spend the new year in Suzhou. He had received news from Beijing, so he had no choice but to do it. "Xiaobao, are you still playing with Xiaobei and the others?" Old Man Pai really did not want to be the vanguard, but he had no other choice. Who told him to be familiar with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? When Zhang Xiaobao heard Old Man Pai's words, he thought of a very old story, the story of Grandmother Wolf. He reached out to touch his head and felt that he did not look like Xiao Hong. Only then did he relax and reply, "So Grandpa Bai is here. No, I'm not playing. It's cold, so I'm going back to rest. Cuckoo and I will also go to bed early and take an afternoon nap. Grandpa Bai, are you and the others strolling around? Then make sure to keep warm." After replying very politely and explaining that he and Wang Wan were going back to sleep, Zhang Xiaobao prepared to immediately go back to his courtyard. At this time, Old Man Pai sighed and his body trembled twice. After attracting Zhang Xiaobao's gaze, he said, "It's really cold. It's really cold. This is still Suzhou, and it's already so cold. Xiaobao, how cold do you think the capital can be?" Zhang Xiaobao knew that he could not avoid it. He also realized that as long as he spoke, Old Man Pai would definitely find an excuse. However, he really did not understand. What did the cold in Beijing have to do with this place? Which year was not cold? So what if Beijing was cold? There were even colder places. Did they think that Siberia's cold current was just a decoration? This time there was no need for him to speak. Old Man Pai spoke again. "Xiaobao, news came from Beijing. It said that suddenly, Yanzhou became frighteningly cold. Originally, they could still rely on sleighs to transport goods and buy food back. However, this year, all the cows and sheep will probably freeze to death. It is estimated that that place will not recover for a few years. If it was just the cows and sheep, it would not be a big deal. However, the people there may not be able to survive. Who knows how many people will lose their relatives? Older brothers and sisters will lose younger brothers and sisters, and fathers will lose their children. Pitiful, really pitiful. Grandpa Bai is right. It is indeed pitiful." Zhang Xiaobao could imagine the situation when he heard Old Man Pai's words, so he echoed, "Xiaobao, do you think there is any way to make that place warmer?" Old Man Pai asked hopefully. "No, my family doesn't have that ability." Zhang Xiaobao shook his head vigorously. He might be able to think of a solution to other problems, but when it came to resisting the weather on a large scale, even if he worked together, it would be useless. Who could stop the cold current? What a joke. Wang Wan looked at Old Man Pai in a daze. She did not know what Old Man Pai was thinking. Why would he ask about such a thing? The difficulty of climbing to the moon 100 times was not even 1/10,000th of the difficulty of stopping the cold current. That was not something a human could do. At least, in the world she knew, it was impossible to do so. If they wanted to stop the cold current, perhaps there was a way. That was to destroy the ozone layer. When that time came, the ice at the 2 poles would melt. First, all the people living on the island would be submerged. Then, the coast of the Tang Empire would become an ocean, and the ice and snow on the Himalayas would become a flood. Then, everyone would not have to worry about the cold current when facing the end of the world. Is there really no way? What should the people there do? Xiaobao, why don't you go back and ask? Isn't your father going to Luoyang next time? My father isn't going anywhere. He has resigned. Our families will find a small island to live on and live out the rest of our lives in peace. Now, hand over all the prescriptions that you know. Whoever has the ability can stop the cold current. My family is very obedient now. You don't have to think about my family. Zhang Xiaobao's answer was very straightforward. Other things could be discussed, but this was not something that people should be involved in. If they could not afford to offend it, could they not avoid it? Old Man Pai did not expect Zhang Xiaobao's reaction to be so intense. In the past, everything could be discussed. What was going on today? Whether it was possible or not, he should go back and ask first. At this moment Wang Wan said, Grandpa Bai, the matter there is not something that can be done by humans. You should change the matter. How about this? My family can come up with something and fly directly from the capital to Luzhou. What do you think? Compared to the cold in Yen province, it's easier to fly. Is it really that difficult? Is there no way? What should the people there do? Old Man Pai saw that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were no longer as calm as before. In the face of such a situation, it seemed like there was no room for discussion. He asked again in disappointment. Since we can't hide, let them come out and hide in the capital. Grandpa Bai, you know about the thermometer, right? If we really encounter a cold climate, the thermometer won't be able to detect anything. There are 2 ways. One is to let the people there come out and don't wait to freeze to death. The other is to transport coal there. It would be even better if we can find coal there. Burn it as much as we can and don't stop. People will be fine as long as they hide in the house. Just stay in the house. Zhang Xiaobao frowned as he thought about the heating. How could he prevent the people there from freezing to death? He could not count on the heating. Perhaps the best way was to use fireplaces and walls. Chapter 586. When the New Year's bell rang, the transport team from Sanshui County was already on their way. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were unable to eliminate the cold current. The only thing they could do was to send the cotton that was planted early and harvested early this year to Sanshui County to be made into clothes to the northernmost area of the Tang Empire. Originally, this batch of clothes and quilts was prepared to be sold in the capital for a good sum of money. In addition to the quilts and coats, Wang Wan also took a military map of the area and circled a few places on it with a pen. She asked the local people to think of a way to dig in those places. Those were the approximate locations where coal mines could be found. Zhang Xiaobao had thought more than once that it would be great if there was heating. If there was no heating, he could hide in the house and try not to go out as much as possible. Unfortunately, this wish was too difficult to realize. It might be possible to make a small boiler with his family's resources, but if he wanted to provide heating in a certain province or several provinces at the same time, not to mention whether he had the money to support it, even the materials were not available. The only place that could use heating now was probably the marble house in the imperial palace. He hoped that Li Longji would not forget that there were still people who were freezing to death when he was warm. When the steaming hot dumplings were placed on the table, the sound of New Year's greetings rang out among the families celebrating the New Year together. There were still people performing on the built stage. In the midst of the bustle, a group of children ignored the people singing and dancing on the stage. They were led by the maids and servants to play with the flowers. Winter in Suzhou was not warm. At least this year it was dry and cold. Unfortunately, there was no snow or ice. Without the snow and ice lanterns, many people who lived in the north were not used to it. Old Man Pai and the other three people always had a trace of worry in their eyes amidst the bustling atmosphere. They did not want to mention it during such a happy time, but they had to find Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were leading the fireworks. Xiaobao, do you think someone will freeze to death in the north? Old Man Pai frowned as he listened to the sound of fireworks exploding one after another. He shouted at Zhang Xiaobao. When Zhang Xiaobao heard the commotion, he opened his mouth and directly pulled Old Man Pai and the other three people into a nearby room. It was better to talk here than outside. When the crackling sounds of firecrackers rang in their ears, they also shouted to the four old men. My family doesn't have a choice either. Didn't they start building a large number of Kong beds a few years ago? I don't think there's anything wrong. When he said this, Zhang Xiaobao felt that he was going against his conscience. No matter how many Kong beds were built, there would still be people who would freeze to death. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Not to mention now, even when he and Wang Wan were still together, when the cold winds of winter came, not everyone could be safe. There were even people who died of heat stroke in summer. Then can you send some cold resistance items over? For example, the things in the shells that your family sells. If you apply it on your hands and face, at least your skin won't crack from the cold. Old Man Pai shouted again. He also knew that there were people who died of heat and cold every year. In the past he couldn't think of a way, but now that he had Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's things, he felt that he could do a better job. Zhang Xiaobao didn't think that anti-freeze ointment could save people's lives, but since Old Man Pai suggested it, he could only agree. He nodded and shouted, then send a few more carts of things over. After the new year, my family will make a special heating product. I hope that the people in the north will have the money to make it. Next year, it's this year's winter, if we encounter such a situation again, it will be better. Zhang Xiaobao thought of an earthen boiler. It was a very simple thing. It was built inside the stove, installed a water circulation system, and connected to the outside with a pipe. Could be heated. It was better than a Kong. A Kang's heat dissipation was too poor, so it wasn't cold standing on it. If the house was bigger, it would still be cold standing far away from the Kong. Zhang Xiaobao had experienced this kind of cold before. When he was sleeping at night, his back was uncomfortably hot and his nose was red from the cold. People in the countryside all used earthen boilers. As long as there was a fire in the stove, it was much more comfortable. Old Man Pai was satisfied. I knew your family would have a way. Can the methane pool be used there? Zhang Xiaobao felt that Old Man Pai was really whimsical. When it was cold in the north, the methane pool's efficiency was too low. Wei shook her head. This time she didn't say anything, but her meaning was very clear. Forget it. Let's go out and watch the fun. Old Man Pai said regretfully. His voice was directly covered by the sound of firecrackers and fireworks outside. This year's New Year, the people of Suzhou were much better off than before. Every family had spare money and didn't have to worry about dumplings. Even people who lacked labor at home also had white flour and meat. According to tradition, Zhang Zhong still sent things to the poor this year. He personally sent things to the people next to the state capital. He also sent people to send things to the people further away in hopes that everyone would have a good New Year. At this time, the capital was also very lively. Ever since there was such a good advertising method like ice lanterns, the merchants spared no effort to decorate the capital. As the emperor, Li Longji was also enjoying the happiness of the new year. He had a very beautiful house made of white marble. Even if the outside could freeze people into ice, the inside of the house was still very warm. Fireworks bloomed in the night sky one after another. Li Longji had to come out of the warm house to celebrate with the people. He looked at the ice lanterns on the street in the distance with his clairvoyant eyes and then looked at the bright fireworks in the sky. The cool and lively atmosphere of the night made people feel like they were in a dream. A cold wind blew, making people shiver involuntarily. Li Longji took the stove that was handed to him. He finally remembered that there was a place in Great Tang where even news could not be sent. Who knew how many people there would freeze to death? He turned his head and asked the person next to him, "Official Gao, what do you think will happen in the north at this time?" "Don't worry, Your Majesty. I've received news that the Zhang family of Sanshui County sent a large number of carriages a few days ago to transport all the cotton-padded clothes and blankets that Lu Zhou just sent over to the north. Counting the days, it won't be long before they arrive. Your Majesty, please look over there. The light there is different from other places. It's the light bulb that the Zhang family sent over here." Gao Lisher replied and immediately pointed at a place not far away. There were colorful lights there, which looked very beautiful in the night sky. It was good to use this to divert Li Longji's attention. Chapter 587. When the sound of firecrackers gradually stopped, the little guys who couldn't bear it went back to their houses to sleep with regret. The performance on the stage was still the same. The people who came to watch the performance were enjoying it against the cold. The servants of the Zhang family and the Wang family went to sleep and busy themselves. The adults set up the table and started to play mahjong. Since Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan proposed this kind of entertainment to their families, it had become popular in the Tang Empire. In the process of entertainment, it naturally became a new gambling tool. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's restaurant became popular under such circumstances. Adhering to the convention of the casino, there were several mahjong masters among the people brought by Lu Jiro. They began to earn money from the Zhang family and the Wang family according to Lu Jiro's instructions. The rules of the 13-card pour who game were simple. There was no need to count the cards and only the slots. Zhang Zhong only used a short hour to lose 2,000 strings of coins to the people sent by the Ministry of Works. Experts. Zhang Zhong had finally met an expert. 3 people against 1. The Zhang family didn't care about this little money. Zhang Xiaobao knew that his father was usually busy and didn't have time to spend energy on this kind of thing. As long as he was happy, it was okay to lose some money. But Lu Jiro seemed to feel that she won too little. She didn't know how much money she was going to win from the Zhang family at the mahjong table. She actually raised her base money again and again, and it became 100 strings of coins. The 3 of them looked at each other and won more than 1,000 strings of coins from Zhang Zhong in 2 games. Zhang Zhong's forehead was sweating. The 3 masters from the Ministry of Works didn't seem to be satisfied. Under Lu Jiro's signal, Zhang Zhong's opponent suddenly changed 10 strings of coins. It seemed that he wanted to continue to win a lot of money. This had become a gambling game. In the beginning, Zhang Xiaobao was still helping to pour the water. But as he watched, his expression became unhappy. Why did the taste change when they were just playing? Old Man Pai also noticed Zhang Xiaobao's expression. He moved his mouth close to Lu Jiro's ear and said, "Enough is enough. This is called a scheme. While we're happy, we'll win a few tens of thousands of strings of cash from Zhang Zhong so that we can bargain with the Zhang family." Lu Jiro didn't know what she was thinking. She actually wanted to take advantage of this opportunity. Old Man Pai Weiwei shook her head and said, "That's still better than 3 people bullying 1 person. Don't be afraid. There's no such thing as big or small in the casino. Isn't there a master in the Zhang family? Once we've lost enough, we might be able to force the expert to show up and meet him." Now, even if you ask Zhang Zhong to stop playing, he won't do it. Losers are all like that. Lu Jiro was still proud of her plan. "Then I hope your Ministry of Works has enough money to lose," Old Man Pai said meaningfully. He didn't think that the Zhang family would let things develop according to Lu Jiro's plan. How could there be no masters in a mahjong game made by others? Sure enough, Zhang Xiaobao was angry when he saw the 3 of them bullying his father. Entertainment was entertainment. Everyone had to rely on their own ability. If the 3 of them colluded to beat him, what was the point? If you want money, just say it. Why use this kind of method? When his father finished another 2,000 strings of cash, Zhang Xiaobao smiled and moved closer to his nervous father and said, "Dad, I'm itching to play. Why don't you let me play with the three uncles for a while?" Zhang Zhong was also anxious about losing. He knew that the three of them were helping each other. He really wanted to stop playing, but he didn't have a chance to leave. He couldn't get angry, so he could only lose the family's money again and again. Although the family had a lot of money, they couldn't give it to others for free. Seeing that his son wanted to play, he immediately gave up his seat with a smile. This move surprised Lu Jiro. She understood the thoughts of people who lost a bet. Usually, the more they lost, the more they gambled. It was really difficult to make them leave the gambling table. She didn't expect Zhang Zhong to give up so easily. He didn't care at all. This could be said to be free and easy. It could also be said to be knowing when to advance and when to retreat. Zhang Xiaobao admired his father the most. It was like this in the past. He didn't fight with his children, didn't fight with his wife, and put his position in the right place. This was the most rare thing. Taking a step back required more courage and magnanimity than taking a step forward. When Wang Wan saw Zhang Xiaobao sit in Zhang Zhong's seat, she began to feel sad for the three people from the Ministry of Works who bullied others just now. She knew very well what kind of person Zhang Xiaobao was. What kind of people were locked in prison? How many times had Zhang Xiaobao been in and out? Sure enough, Zhang Xiaobao had a smile on his face when he sat down and shuffled the cards. He seemed to be very relaxed. His small hands were rubbing the cards, making it seem like he didn't know how to play cards. When the others finished arranging the 34 cards, Zhang Xiaobao slowly arranged his own side. He pushed it forward and waited for the others to play the dice. His opponent was still in the 10th position. As long as they could win, the three people from the Ministry of Works were even prepared to bully a child. One person grabbed 13 cards. Zhang Xiaobao's opponent had just one, so he grabbed an extra card. After the three people from the Ministry of Works set up their cards and were moving back and forth, Zhang Xiaobao's card was not set up at all. He only used his hand to quickly touch the cards from left to right and smiled as he waited for his opponent to play. This action stunned the people watching the game and the three people at the table. What was the meaning of this? He didn't look at his cards. Then how were they going to play later? He grabbed a card and casually played another card. East Wind. Zhang Xiaobao's opponent first played the cards in his hand. Zhang Xiaobao's opponent was about to draw a card when Zhang Xiaobao suddenly said, "Don't move." 1. Peacock flies southeast. As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao had already taken his opponent's tile while the others were still in shock. With a whoosh, his tile was erected. Before the others even knew what a peacock flying southeast meant, he had already added the east wind tile into the mix. When the others saw the face of the cards, they were speechless. He won as expected. Zhang Xiaobao's opponent was stunned for a moment. He seemed to be in disbelief. He had just played a card and his 2,000 strings of cards were gone just like that. It's a pity that there are no such rules. Otherwise I could have won more. Let's continue. Come, three uncles, please let me win. Zhang Xiaobao took the chips that represented money over and said with an innocent smile. Hiss! The three people from the Ministry of Works sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Their hearts skipped a beat. An expert. They had met an expert today. Not only them, but the spectators also realized that if Zhang Xiaobao had set up his cards at the beginning and his opponent played, it would have been fine if he won. However, he didn't set up his cards at all and just touched them. Could it be that he knew that his opponent could play this card? Doubts were doubts, but the game still had to continue. Lu Jiro called someone to her side and gave him a few instructions. This person came to the side of the three people from the Ministry of Works and whispered something to each of them. The three people nodded one after another to show that they understood. When they shuffled the cards this time, the three people deliberately shuffled the cards a few more times. Their 6 big hands couldn't block the cards and shuffle them so that Zhang Xiaobao's small hands wouldn't move randomly like before and pushed the shuffled cards into their hands. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care. His small hands were still so unhurried, and the smile on his face didn't decrease. He did do it on purpose just now. He wanted to show off his strength to the three people first. That kind of trick could only be used once. It was unexpected. If he used it again, it would be discovered. Just like the previous game, Zhang Xiaobao didn't even look at the cards that were caught. He touched them with his small hands, and when he was done, he picked out a card from the pile. When he opened it, he said, 5 pikes. Bang! The opponent happily took the 5 pikes and casually threw out another card. Zhang Xiaobao went up and grabbed a card. Zhang Xiaobao also grabbed a card. Just like the first card, when he threw it out, he said, 3 pikes. Bang! The opponent happily took the card again. Several times in a row, Zhang Xiaobao's opponent only grabbed a card once. The rest was up to Zhang Xiaobao's opponent and opponent. Seeing that the opponent and opponent's cards were getting fewer and fewer, Zhang Xiaobao once again grabbed a card. He showed the card and said softly, "Word touch, all of the same color. Unfortunately, I still can't win." This time he changed to 10 gears. The opponent lost 2,000 pikes, and the opponent lost 1,000 pikes. Now, it was the 3 people from the Ministry of Works' turn to sweat. What's going on? Does Zhang Xiaobao know what other people will play? Lu Jiro thought she saw a ghost and muttered in disbelief. Old Man Yao was also puzzled. It was strange. Zhang Xiaobao didn't look at the cards at all. Even if he wanted to send someone to stand behind and report to others, it was useless. While they were still trying to figure it out, the third round started. Zhang Xiaobao was still using the highest 10 cards, which was the limit. Once he had 14 cards in his hand, he played a round of cards. In the second round, when he was drawing cards, he played a hidden bar, which struck a chord in the hearts of the 3 Ministry of Works members. It was over. Each of them lost 2,000 pikes. This was already agreed upon. The hidden bar counted as the pikes. If they followed other rules, they would lose even more. Now, they could only follow the same rules as before and try their best to lose all the cards this time. That way it wouldn't count as a bar, and a yellow card would be a yellow bar. But how could this idea be realized? After a few more rounds, after Zhang Xiaobao threw out an open bar, he picked up a card and pushed it. He said with a smile, "I won. Flowers on the bar. Thank you, thank you." According to the rules, flowers on the bar wouldn't be doubled. But even so, the 3 parties lost 4,000 pikes each. Not only did Zhang Zhong win back what he had lost, but he also made a lot of money at the same time. Before the 4 old men could think of a good idea, they played a few more rounds in a row. In the end, the 3 people from the Ministry of Works lost every round. No matter how they signaled, it was useless. After Zhang Xiaobao won another round with 2 open bars, a hidden bar, and a self-draw, he asked with a smile, "Uncles, do you still want to play? Your chips have already been exchanged with money. Why don't you pay the money first, or write a written agreement before playing? Otherwise, what if you don't admit to it?" "Xiaobao, we're just playing for fun. What's with money? Taking the chips is actually just a start. Don't really count the money." Old Man Lu wiped his sweat and said to Zhang Xiaobao, Don't count. Then it seems like someone has already gone to exchange the money my father lost. Those few pikes were all exchanged for chips." Zhang Xiaobao blinked his big eyes and said with a puzzled expression, "Exchange it back. We'll exchange it back immediately. Hurry up and exchange it." Old Man Lu blushed. After saying that to Zhang Xiaobao, he glared at the people beside him. Just now, he was afraid that Zhang Zhong wouldn't admit to it after losing, so he immediately exchanged the chips he won for pikes. Now he was shooting himself in the foot. However, he really had no other choice. Zhang Xiaobao won at least 30,000 strings of pikes in a short while. His opponent lost the most, more than 40,000 strings of pikes. Where was he going to get this money? Zhang Xiaobao nodded helplessly and said, "Grandpa Lu is the most reasonable one. Xiaobao has learned a lot again. Forget it, there's no need to put so much thought into it." How about this, let's play poker, a smaller one. This time you're not allowed to go back on your word. It's not like playing mahjong where you have to spend a lot of time counting the tiles. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Old Man Lu wished that there was a hole in the ground for him to crawl into. The expert didn't appear, and only Xiaobao was able to beat up the three people who worked together. What a mistake, what a mistake. Now that they saw that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to change to another game, the three people from the Ministry of Works who had already lost shook their heads vigorously like rattles. They didn't realize that they spent a lot of time playing mahjong. Most of the time after a few rounds, Zhang Xiaobao would win. They didn't know how it happened. Xiaobao, don't bully others. Come over here and eat. Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao had scared the others, so she could only come over and pull Zhang Xiaobao to another place. Otherwise, with him around, the others wouldn't be able to continue playing. Zhang Xiaobao also felt that it was meaningless. The opponents were too one-sided. They didn't even know how to remember their cards, and they definitely wouldn't mess up their cards through the back and forth. Otherwise, with three people working together, even if you clearly knew what the next card was, you wouldn't be able to stop them from winning. If you messed up the rhythm by touching a card, they would immediately adjust by eating. After waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to leave the table, Old Man Pai moved closer to Old Man Lu's ear and said, "How was it? You still haven't used your money to buy the chips. Otherwise you would have lost all your money." An expert. I didn't expect Xiaobao to be an expert in this field. With this ability, the Zhang family doesn't need to do business anymore. If we let Xiaobao out to gamble with others, the money will continue to flow in. Old Man Lu looked at the cards on the table and said softly. He still didn't understand what was going on. It seemed that the experts under him were not good enough. They still had to train. Otherwise, if they encountered someone like Zhang Xiaobao, wouldn't they be beaten to death? The bustle of the 30th day gradually faded away. By the 5th day of the new year, Zhangzhong didn't care about other places. Suzhou began to resume its normal work. The people also began to work hard for the new year. It wasn't just Suzhou. It was the same for Luzhou. After the new year, those who were supposed to go out to sea still went out to sea. Those who were supposed to transport goods also began to organize people to transport goods to various places. The fishermen on Cheongzhou Island formed teams of a few people to go fishing further away. The trading fleet that was going to Luzon also set sail. This year they were going to hire the local people to grow enough white fold cloth and bring it back to Tang to sell. This was all because of the cold weather this year. At the same time, it was also the reason why the white fold cloth was widely promoted in various places. Lighthouses were still being built in further places. Whenever they encountered an island or a bigger reef, they would have to build a lighthouse on it. One was to guide the ships, and the other was to show the ownership of that place. On the farthest lighthouse, there were still people guarding it during the new year. The patrol ships also patrolled back and forth on the 30th day of the new year. Occasionally, they would stop and send blessings to the lighthouse keeper. When the 15th day of the new year was approaching, the lighthouse keeper on the farthest lighthouse was waiting for the lantern festival to eat. The people who were taking turns to look at the sea with their clairvoyance came to watch. Just when they thought that nothing would happen today, they suddenly saw a few ships in the distance. The ships in front of them carried the flag of Tang. The ships behind them didn't have any flags. It seemed that the ships of Tang were running, and the ships behind were chasing. Not only were there more ships chasing, but they were also bigger than the ships that were running. Quick, send a signal. Someone is bullying our Tang fishing ships. Who's tired of living? Quickly inform the patrol. Chapter 589. The waves lapped against the shore, reflecting the light of spring. People came and went on the bridges. There were thousands of shadows of sails, one in Zhejiang, Hangzhou, and one in Hunan. The fish in Tang and river were getting warmer, but Luzhou's coastal defense lighthouse was not cold yet. The blue sky was clear, and the clouds were floating. The sound of Zhongxing's gunships rang out. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy with the spring construction, Lu Zhou's lighthouse finally played its role. On the farthest lighthouse, the person in charge of guarding the lighthouse saw 3 boats fleeing. Through his 1,000-mile eye, he could see the Tang flag on the fleeing boats while the ones behind did not have any insignia. He sent signals to the patrol boats while he guided the 3 fleeing boats. The fleeing boats were much smaller than the pursuing boats. He wondered where the 3 boats learned to sail with triangular sails. When they sailed against the wind, they would draw the word Z on their sails. The pursuing boats had straight sails. At this moment, the sails were lowered. The 2 groups of boats were able to maintain a certain distance from each other under such circumstances. The small boats could not run fast, and the pursuing boats could not catch up to them. However, they did not seem to have any intention of giving up. Perhaps the lighthouse was too small a target during the day and could not be seen from afar. The fleeing boats were initially heading in the right direction, but they started to deviate as they ran. The pursuing boats did not notice the lighthouse as well. They were still trying to close the distance between them. As fireworks rose from the lighthouse, the 3 boats hastily adjusted their direction. "Stay here and watch. I'll fight it out with them. If I die, detonate the explosives left behind in the lighthouse for the patrol boats. Lu Zhou's trading company will avenge us." The person who woke up from his sleep hastily put on his clothes and ran down the stairs after he finished speaking. He kicked out the ballista with wheels in the storeroom below. The ballista had 12 arrow slots. Each arrow was 4 feet and 3 inches long and was forged from fine iron. It was considered a weapon of the highest grade. However, nobody would come so far to investigate. One by one, the arrows were placed on the string, and the string was loosened by cranking the handle. By the time the 3 people on the leading boats could be seen with the naked eye, all 12 arrows were in place. "Let's see if I can kill someone today. Let's run. We're about to catch up to them. No, I have to block the crossbow so that they'll be on guard. Damn it. Lu Zhou's trading company is really awesome. They actually gave the lighthouse a crossbow." The lighthouse was in a daze. While muttering to herself, she shouted at the approaching ships. She didn't care whether they could hear her or not. She timidly found a piece of canvas and blocked the cold arrowheads of the crossbow. It seemed that she had made up her mind to ambush someone. The people on the 3 boats did not hear her, but they saw the lighthouse. It was also their first time here. They had always heard that the lighthouse here was good. When they were tired from fishing, they could rest in the lighthouse. Anyone who sold the shellfish to Lu Zhou's trading company would be given free drinks and meals. However, they had to show the proof of the transaction. The people on the boats did not know how strong the support from the lighthouse was. However, this was a place where they could rest. Moreover, it belonged to Lu Zhou's trading company. It was better than running on the sea alone. They could go in and block the door for a while. The people on the 3 small boats did not have the time to adjust their landing positions. They were directly stranded on the reefs or the beach. The people also ran down one after another. They did not care about the boats and did not have time to care about the things on the boats. There was no situation where they had to bear the burden for a little bit of harvest. A total of 10 people jumped down from the 3 boats. They thought they were saved. When they saw a person leaning on the reef on the shore, they were disappointed again. "Go in and block the door. They'll be here soon," a young man among the 10 people shouted anxiously at the person on the plateau. The 5 ships chasing after them were indeed not far away. It was estimated that they would be able to reach the shore in less than half an hour. It was still not too late to block the door under the lighthouse. However, the person standing there was completely unmoved. He turned his head to look at the 10 people and shouted, "Everyone, let's go. Don't worry about me. I'll show them my power. I'll climb up later. There's a bow at the top. You can use it." When the 10 people looked up at the lighthouse, sure enough, there was a rope hanging down from the top. They turned to look at the boats chasing after them. They did not want to wait with this simple-minded person. One by one, they ran into the lighthouse and piled the things on the bottom floor at the entrance. To their regret, The lighthouse only had an entrance and no door. The 5 boats chasing after them had slowed down at this time. They looked at the lighthouse and made a choice. Should they go up or not? This was the problem. While they were hesitating, the boats were getting closer and closer to the shore. The people on the boats picked up the javelins and prepared to shoot the person standing on the plateau down when they were close enough. The javelins were almost within range, let alone the ballista. In order not to miss, Nguai waited and waited. Although he had never killed anyone before, he had a lot of practice. However, at that time he used a wooden shaft and an iron head. He shot into the sea and then fished it up after he was done. Now that he was using an iron arrow, he estimated that the front part of the arrow would be similar to the wooden one, and the back part would be further away. He lifted the canvas blocking the way and stood behind the arrow on the far left. He was ready to shoot a single shot. After aiming slightly, he moved the bayonet and the arrow flew out with a buzz. Before the people on the boat who were preparing to use the javelins could react, they felt a cold wind blow over their heads. A puff sound came from behind them. While they were still in a daze, a second arrow flew over. This time it did not hit the water but the boat. With a crack, the bottom board of the boat was shot through, leaving a large hole. The area around the hole also cracked, and seawater gurgled out of the hole. Third arrow followed. This arrow was not very accurate and it was a little too far. It hit a reef on the side of the boat. Half of the arrow went in, and the other half buzzed and trembled. At this time, the people on the boat finally knew what was flying over one after another. If this thing hit them, run. Plug the leak, quick. The people on the boat who were shot reacted and shouted at the top of their lungs. In fact, there was no need for him to shout. The others were turning around, and the people who wanted to throw the javelins stopped thinking about it. The consequences of the javelins in their hands going against that thing were very serious. The 5 boats began to turn around as fast as they could. At this time, they regretted that they should not have rushed so close. It was also the first time they realized that the boat, which usually turned around very quickly, was too slow today. They wanted to run, but Exine Gutless did not intend to let them go so easily. The 3 arrows did not hit a single person. If he could not stop 2 people, others would laugh at him again. He put his hand on the 4th arrow and carefully aimed at it, ready to shoot. He was not afraid that the other party would run away. The 12 arrows were not finished. This was a crossbow, and they wanted to run out of the range at such a close distance. It was too late. The 10 people who were rescued had already climbed to the top and were looking down from the windowless window. They were prepared to fight, but they didn't expect that the 5 ships would be scared away. They had never seen this kind of ballista that was specially used to attack and defend a city. They looked at the big thing in puzzlement. This is good. After they leave, we don't have to worry about being caught by them, said one of the 10 people who was holding a package tightly in his arms. Run. They can't run away. Gutless, stop shooting. Save the arrows. 1 arrow costs a lot. Remember to get it back. I won't accompany you in fishing. If you get a magnet and tie it to a rope, you might not be able to find it even after a day. The patrol boat is already here. If you continue to shoot, I will report you. The person who stayed to guard the tower first looked to the east, where the patrol boat was coming from. After seeing the shadow of a boat, he shouted to Exine Gutless. Exine Gutless resentfully took down the rest of the arrows. He put down the string and muttered unhappily, "Am I gutless? I am ready to sacrifice myself. There are only 9 arrows left. Not all of them can hit. There are so many people on the 5 boats. What is there to be afraid of? They can chop me into minced meat if they rush up." While the 2 people guarding the tower were waiting and the 10 people who had dodged the attack felt exhausted, the patrol ship rushed over with full sail. From its speed, it could be seen that not only was the ship at full sail, but the human propeller behind it was also operating at full capacity. The people guarding the tower signaled twice. Without stopping, The patrol boat rushed toward the 5 boats that had just escaped the crossbow's range and were trying to think of a way to get back up. Don't worry. They can't run away. Do you think you can run away after causing trouble? Now tell me where you live. Tell me your birthplace. The person standing on the tower patted the oldest of the 10 people on the shoulder and asked, "Do we have to pay for it?" If I had known, I would have thought of a way to do business with the people of Lu Zhou's trading company. The person who was patted said, but in his heart, he began to think about how much money he would have to pay this time. The other party had specially sent a big boat here. How much would it cost? No receipt. Then you have to pay for food. Fish is the cheapest. Pork or vegetables are expensive. If you want to eat fruits, the price is even higher. The person guarding the tower took out a list from the side. It was full of the price of food. He did not care if the people could read or not. He just introduced the list to them. The 10 people did not care about what they ate. It was a great favor to be able to survive. The person holding the package in his arms asked nervously, "How much does it cost to send a boat here? And that big thing that scared the others away just now. We can't afford it if there are too many." As he spoke, he hugged the package in his arms tighter. "First we have to see if the flag you hang is fake. If it's fake, you have to work hard because you don't have money. It's not fake. We are all from the same dynasty. Can't we get a bargain?" "Yes, it's a bargain. Are you really from Tang? Tell them your birthplace and put your fingerprint after checking. It's easy to reimburse. Don't hide it. No one will rob you. No matter how precious your things are, how much can they be sold for? The Lu Zhou's trading company might not take a fancy to you," the person guarding the tower said unhappily when he saw that the person was still on guard. However, the person refused to relax. "You haven't said how much it costs to be from Tang. It doesn't cost money. You're so narrow-minded. Remember to thank the imperial court first, and then thank the Lu Zhou's trading company. The boat came so quickly today. I thought it would take an hour for it to arrive. Take a good look at the menu. What do you want to eat?" The timid one below is a chef. He has been trained by the Sea Cloud Inn. You're in for a treat. The person guarding the tower began to write down today's events. When the shift was over, he would bring it back to the trading company to record it. The 10 of them were relieved. They did not expect that the transfer of the ship would be free, but they definitely did not believe that the person below was a coward. When they looked at him just now, he seemed to be awe-inspiring. Especially when his slightly messy hair was blown by the wind, it gave people the impression that he was standing proudly in the wind and no one could stop him. However, they still could not figure out why they did not need to pay. Is it really free? There has to be a reason, right? The person holding the package still wanted to confirm. Why are you so stupid? The people of Tang don't need money. Do you usually pay fishing tax? The right thing to do is to pay the tax. The trading company will settle the bill with the imperial court after paying the tax. The person guarding the tower had to explain. In fact, he knew that the imperial court would not pay the tax. The trading company would pay the tax themselves, and they still had to ask the imperial court for help. But the tax we pay is not enough to transfer a big boat even once every 10 years. That's 2 different things. You are the people of Tang. If you pay the tax, you will be protected. Those who can pay the tax are protected. Those who can't pay the tax are protected. You don't understand. You know that you don't need to pay the tax. It's tiring. What do you want to eat? Hurry up. If you don't want to eat, I'm going up. The timid one is going to sleep. The person guarding the tower was slightly dissatisfied when he saw that the other party was not done with his questions. The 10 people did not dare to offend the other party. He should be the most authoritative person. He pointed to a line of words on the menu and asked, "What is this?" "Sauerkraut and seafood pot. Cheap. If you have something from the sea on your boat, just bring it up. The sauerkraut, oil, and seasonings here will be 20 copper coins." The person guarding the tower looked at the words and said, 20 copper coins? Obviously, some people could not afford this price. I'll give you 100 copper coins now. Go and find sauerkraut for me. I'll take as many as you have. It's only 2 copper coins for each of the 10 people. While they were talking, the patrol boat had caught up with the 5 boats that had escaped again. Although it was called a patrol boat, it was actually a gunboat that had just been launched. It was preparing to come here for an experiment. It happened that something happened, so it intervened. There were 16 large bronze cannons on the boat, 8 on each side. The back of the cannons was filled with rollers, and the front of the cannons were filled with gunpowder and iron balls. It was not very accurate. After firing 1 shot, the cannons had to be reloaded again. It was not bad to be able to fire 2 shots in a quarter of an hour. But even so, many people were full of hope for this new weapon. The iron balls could fly as far as 2 miles. After firing 8 shots, they could change direction and fire another 8 shots. At such a long distance, the other boats did not have any means to fight back. If they were hit twice, it would be easy to sink. If they fired a few more shots and were lucky enough to break the mast, then the boat would be waiting for death. At this time, it was normal to chase and attack each other for a few days in a sea battle. It was not like the time when Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were shooting torpedoes and missiles were flying everywhere. The 5 boats that had escaped were not because they knew that the enemy had cannons, but because they compared the size of the enemy's boats. If they hit the big boat, the small boats would be smashed. If there were some crossbowmen on the boat, they would be shot a few times. Run and see where you can go. The boat is a little small, so it's not easy to hit it. Try to run. Turn left and reload. With the command of the commander, the gunboat slowly adjusted its position. With a command to fire, 8 cannons fired 8 shots in the smoke and loud noise. Chapter 590. When the commander of the Zhongxing gunboat regretfully withdrew the order, "Turn the rudder to the left and prepare to ignite," Coward Exon had already made a special strange cry. As a cook, he was assigned to 3 boats to get the seafood needed for the sauerkraut and seafood pot. When he was rummaging in one of the boats and muttering which seafood was the best, the guard above the tower heard an inhuman sound and found that he, who was no longer timid when facing 5 boats alone, began to tremble all over. Something was wrong. The guard vigilantly looked at the 10 people around him and took out a short gun from his waist. He pulled the trigger with his right thumb and took off the cover in front of it with his left hand. This was not an automatic pistol and could only shoot once. The inside was a scatter bullet. When the trigger was pulled, the trigger would be installed on a small piece of flint and the short powder would be twisted to ignite the powder. The reaction time was not too long and the accuracy was low. In short range, the killing radius was large and the shooting range was short. "What do you have on your boats?" The guard slightly steadied himself with the gun in hand and asked bluntly. It seemed that he would attack as long as there was something wrong. The 10 people did not know what this thing was, but when they saw it in the guard's hand, they could guess that it would cause a lot of damage to their bodies. "No, nothing. Maybe. One of the 10 people seemed to think of something. While speaking, he looked at the person who was still holding the package tightly in his arms. The person holding the package also thought of something, and his face suddenly turned ugly. There was regret, helplessness, and a trace of relief in his expression. The guard was also nervous. He aimed the gun at the 10 people. Every time he aimed at a person, that person would make a dodging gesture like Weiwei. "Did you kill the people of Tang and rob his money?" The guard finally fixed his eyes on the person holding the package. Brother Feng, come and have a look. There is a big shell here. Judging from the traces, there should be pearls dug down. There are 2, one big and one small. Ask them if they are in the hands of the 10 people. We are going to be rich." Just when the 10 people were being interrogated by the guard, Coward Exon dragged a big shell from the boat to the shore and shouted to the guard while dragging. "Call me Brother Tian, not Brother Feng. Just bring something up." "Well, it's good that you didn't kill anyone. No wonder someone is chasing you." The guard above the tower now understood everything. He carefully put the gun back, looked at the person guarding the package and went to the corner and sat down. His actions made the 10 people stunned. Money and silk moved people's hearts. They did not expect that when he heard that there was a big pearl, he was not in a hurry to get it. He even put away the weapon that should be very powerful. You're not going to rob it and make a fortune. A big pearl that can scare people to death. The most prestigious person among the 10 swallowed his saliva and asked nervously, I want to make a fortune, but I know that if I rob it, I won't be alive to spend it. Let me see how big it is. The guard tried to calm his excitement. He saw the big shell, and he knew that the pearl was not small. If he was not a native of Luzhou and did not know the ability of the Zhang family, he would not be able to control himself and rob it. Then, he would hide in the mountain and wait for a few years when no one could find him. Then, he would find a way to run far away and sell the pearls. As a hunter, he was not worried about starving to death in the mountain. However, he did not dare to do that because he knew the good official too well. If it were someone else, they might not be able to defeat him in Luzhou's mountain. However, once the good official sent out the 56 people zero team, how could he hide? He was good at saving people, so he must be good at killing people. Hearing his words, the guard carefully opened the package in his arms, revealing 2 pearls, one big and one small. So big. Is it fake? What are you doing with it? Are you afraid that you won't die fast enough? The guard jumped when he saw the 2 pearls. He stared at the pearls with his eyes wide open and kept swallowing his saliva. Since he was young, he had never seen or heard of such a big pearl. The small pearl was actually the size of an egg, and the big one was the size of a goose egg. 70% was a pearl, and 80% was a treasure. Such a pearl should not appear in the world. When he looked at the reflection of the pearls, he saw the reflection moving like light. Anyone with a little knowledge would know how much the 2 pearls were worth. Basically, it was priceless. It was not worth 10,000 strings of coins, but it was not worth 1,000,000 strings of coins. It depended on how much the rich were willing to pay. Ordinary people would not even think about it. Scourge, what are you going to do with these 2 pearls? Where are you going to sell them? No one is willing to use them as medicine. An innocent man will get into trouble because of his wealth. Put them away. I don't want to look at them. The more I look at them, the more scared I am. The guard shook his head and sighed for the 10 people. What could they do if they could not protect it? The 10 people also showed a difficult expression. If the pearls in the big shell could be smaller and more, then it would be good. But there were 2 big pearls. Could it be that they did not want them when they encountered them? If the pearls were so big that ordinary people did not dare to be greedy, then they were not treasures. They were life-threatening things. If the color was a little dimmer and a little flatter, then it would be good. How about grinding them into powder and selling them? The person holding the pearls asked in a low voice. What's the difference between them and ordinary pearls? How much do you want to sell them for? I'll ask a good official for you. Perhaps only he has the ability to buy these things and protect them. You don't have to count on anyone else. Or you can directly send them to the capital and give them to the emperor. The guard had already lost interest in the 2 big pearls. When he first saw them, he still wanted to have them. But after thinking about it carefully, that idea could not be born again. The most prestigious of the 10 people heard his words and shook his head, saying, Is the emperor someone you can see just because you want to? If you ask someone else for help, I guess the 10 of us and you will all die. Don't drag me into this. If you want to die, just die. I won't die. As long as I am still the lighthouse of the Luzhou Chamber of Commerce, no one will dare to do anything to me. When the patrol ship comes back, I'll ask them to bring a letter back and see if the good official is willing to buy them. You can name a price. The guard of the tower was not worried about his personal safety. The whole Luzhou was an iron bucket, and outsiders could not interfere at all. Even the new officials were very honest. Won't the patrol ship be greedy? No, they are more timid than me because they know the good official better. The guard of the tower was not worried that the patrol ship had designs on the pearls because there were still people from the Zhang family and the Wang family on the ship. Before the patrol ship came back, the timid Exon ran up in a hurry. When he saw the two big pearls, he swallowed the words he was about to say. Just now he had found traces on the shell and knew there were big pearls, but that speculation and seeing it with his own eyes were two different things. Brother Fong, it's so big. Wait, I'm going to strangle the crossbow. It's killing people. After a while, the timid Exon said in a trembling voice and turned to leave. Stop, the patrol ship will be back soon. Don't strangle the crossbow. Go and cook sauerkraut, seafood pot, and cook ribs. Since you saw such big pearls, let's celebrate. Remember, call me Brother Tion in the future. The guard of the tower stopped him and gave him an order. Okay, Brother Fong, I'll go and let them taste the dishes. The timid Exon left happily to cook, leaving the 11 people waiting in silence. Before the meal was ready, the patrol boats escorted the people on the 5 boats back. Without the need for the people on the tower to explain, they already knew what was going on. The people on the 5 boats were not from other countries. They were from Jiao province. They were carrying goods and were about to come here to trade. However, on the way, they saw a big shell being fished up by people on 3 small boats. They came closer to have a chat. Everyone knew that there would be big pearls in the shell. When they saw the big pearls, the people on the 5 ships were tempted. The people on the 3 ships also realized that something was wrong. They immediately found a reason to leave and stopped talking to the people on the 5 ships. In the beginning, the people on the 5 ships were still in a daze, waiting for the 3 small boats to leave. Finally, they could not resist the impulse in their hearts and chased after them. Because there were many goods on the ships, they could not speed up for a while. They had no choice but to throw the goods into the sea and gradually shorten the distance. It was the first time they came here, and they did not expect there to be a lighthouse here. The people on the lighthouse were so responsible and equipped with powerful weapons. After they tried to kill people to get ashore, they were thinking of a way when they were caught by the patrol ship. Originally, the 2 ships were not on the same level. With the 8 water columns, the only choice was to surrender. The patrol ship could not directly approach the shore. They could only stop on the sea and send a small boat to the lighthouse to ask about the matter. A total of 3 people came down. 2 of them were from the inner courtyard left by the Zhang family. They were in charge of the new weapon experiment. When the 3 of them saw the 2 big pearls, the people who were not from the inner courtyard opened their mouths wide in shock. They muttered that they had not lived in vain and had learned something new. Although the people from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family were also surprised, they recovered very quickly. The 2 of them looked at each other and said at the same time, "This time, the little ancestors have something fun to play with." They really did not care about such big pearls. They were usually in contact with immortals, so it was not a big deal to look at a pearl. If these 2 pearls were given to the 4 little ancestors to play with, they would definitely be very happy. The pearls were beautiful. How much? Name a price. One of the inner courtyard people asked directly. The 10 owners of the pearls did not expect the other party to be so straightforward. For a moment, they were stunned and did not say anything. When they did not say anything, the other inner courtyard person said, "How about this? You all go with Lu Zhou first. When the pearls are delivered to the main family, we'll tell you the price or use other benefits to exchange with you. Don't worry, the main family won't scheme against you for these 2 pearls. If you want to snatch them, you can do it now." After the 2 of them finished speaking, they returned to the ship and waited. They let the 10 people choose for themselves. The 2 of them had more important things to do, which was to collect data and study the use of cannons in naval battles. The 10 of them ate an unknown meal and drank some wine. In their days, they finally decided to trust the Zhang family. Apart from the Zhang family, it seemed like no one else would treat them this way. When the spring plowing in Suzhou began in advance, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finally received the 2 big pearls and a document about cannons sent by Lu Zhou on a fast horse. The 2 of them sent the small pearl to Old Man Pai and the other 3 for them to see. They threw the big pearl to their younger siblings' room and let the little ones play with it. The big pearls were good. The magnetism in such a big pearl was greater. It was said that it was good for the body and had a calming effect. Seeing the little ones holding the big pearls in their arms and drooling so much on them, one could tell how much the little ones liked them. It would be even better if they were ground into powder and eaten. You can also use it on your face. What should we do with the 10 of them? Wang Wan touched her tender face and asked Zhang Xiaobao. First, give them a few hundred strings of coins to settle down and bring them to Suzhou. Ask them what they want. 2 pearls. 1 for your family to eat, and the other one for Xiaobei and the others to play with. It's translucent and pretty. Zhang Xiaobao really did not care. The big pearls now were like the diamonds in his past life. A diamond that was too big was not as valuable as divided into smaller pieces. The social value was not based on its size. If it was not cut, there was no difference between a 2-ton diamond and a 1-ton diamond. It was the same for pearls. Moreover, pearls could not be cut and polished like diamonds for decoration. One was for collection, and the other was to be made into medicinal materials. Giving 10 people a long-term way to make money was better than giving them a large sum of money directly. Wang Wan was satisfied with Zhang Xiaobao's arrangement. In this way, she would have good pearl powder cosmetics. Even if she did not use it now, she could wipe her hands and feel it. Thinking about it was one thing, but things could not be done like this. Xiaobao, you want to keep all the pearls. Don't you plan to give one to Li Longji? If he knows there are such pearls, he will definitely get sick. It happens that the kind of illness that needs pearls to treat. The effect of looking for big pearls when he is sick is not the same as giving it to him now. Yes, it's understandable. Who would expect such a big pearl to be uneasy? If you want to use it to suppress the shock, then give the small one to him. We can't snatch Xiaobei and the others' toys. Later we will ask Grandpa Bai and the others if it's okay. Let's go and see how Xiaobei and the others are playing. Zhang Xiaobao sighed with emotion about the benefits of being an emperor. As he spoke, he walked with Wang Wan to the courtyard of his younger brother and sister. On the way he said, "Artificial pearl cultivation is to pick up the shells, choose the ones that can grow big in the future, and then put sand in them, right? Let their secretions be wrapped layer by layer. It should also depend on which one secretes more. Do you want to cultivate pearls?" Wang Wan was not sure. She only knew that the pearls at that time would not be very good. They would be very cheap. They were not round and small. You could buy a pile of them with 10 yuan. How could I? I'm just letting others try. In case they succeed, there is Lake Tai here. Zhang Xiaobao thought of using pearls as medicine. Pearls were too expensive now. They could not afford to eat medicine. If they could be cultivated, then it would not be as difficult as it was now. As the two of them talked, they arrived outside the courtyard of the little guys. Before they entered, they saw 4 old men standing there with helpless expressions. "Grandpa Bai, what's wrong with you guys? You don't look good. Get someone to take a look." Zhang Xiaobao asked with concern. "It's nothing. It's just that seeing the little guys having fun there made me happy," Old Man Pai said with a pained expression. Chapter 591. The matter of the 2 pearls was just a small matter. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wouldn't spend their energy on such luxurious things. It didn't have much meaning to their philosophy of life. They believed that Old Man Pai and the other 3 wouldn't care about how much the pearls were worth. The quality of the large pearl was good, and Xiaobei hadn't broken it yet. After a few words, the younger one decided to send it to Li Longji. It would probably be used as medicine in the capital. It was said that old pearls had sufficient medicinal power. They picked up the pearl that Xiaobei had thrown and spun it on the marble floor. The brilliance of the 2 reflected each other for a long time. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw that the children were having a good time, so they looked for the 4 old men to discuss the Yangtze River Bridge. "Grandpa Bai, do you think we can collect tolls from people at the bridge? Usually it costs money to take the ferry. Since it's convenient to take the bridge, it's not too much to pay less." The first thing that Zhang Xiaobao raised was money. The bridge needed to be repaired, and the account that was going through now was Wangjiang Building. It was part of the local government's functions and was incorporated into the finances of Wangjiang County. Old Man Pai and the other three were no longer people who didn't know much about economics like when they first met Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When they heard Zhang Xiaobao mention money, they hesitated and said, "Xiaobao, there are so many people coming and going on the bridge. It will definitely promote the local economic development and increase the tax revenue. Seems reasonable to take a portion of it for maintenance. Why should we collect more money? In that case, we won't collect it. I hope that the officials of Wangjiang County won't embezzle this money in the future. They will pay for it every year." The second thing is the people who ferry the Yangtze River. With the bridge, the people in the distance will still take the ferry, while the people nearby will cross the bridge. It won't be easy for the people who ferry. Zhang Xiaobao raised another matter. When a new industry developed, it would definitely have an impact on the related old models. People who had been ferrying for many years should find other things to do. This was not something that the people in power should do to the people. An official who sacrificed the interests of a portion of the people to obtain a certain economic development was an incompetent official. Don't treat the people as data on paper. They are living people. The four old men frowned at the same time. If the bridge could be repaired, then it must be repaired. A bridge was much more convenient than ferrying goods and people back and forth. They couldn't tear down the bridge just because of the ferrymen. Directly giving money to the ferrymen didn't seem right. So what should they arrange for them to do? Zhang Xiaobao didn't need the four old men to figure it out themselves. He naturally had a solution for the problem that he proposed. "Grandpa Bai, my family's idea is to divide this group of people into 3 parts to solve the problem. On the one hand, we'll pull iron chains along the bridge piers. 2 iron chains will allow the ferry to hang on them, eliminating the danger of the ferry being washed over. On the bridge piers in the middle of the river, we'll use wood to build a view of the river. If there are people who like to enjoy the scenery there, they'll pay people to ferry them there. The second part is to make pleasure boats on the tributary river. We'll let the ferrymen work together and buy or rent large boats to them first. The tributary river isn't so turbulent, and we can solve a group of people. The third part is to cooperate with Wangjiang Restaurant. Every day we'll catch fish in the river and sell them to Wangjiang Restaurant. Or we'll directly take orders from Wangjiang Restaurant. With the 3-pronged approach, the people who originally lived on this section of the Yangtze River will have a new way to survive." Zhang Xiaobao explained the arrangement for the people who had lost their jobs and waited for the 4 old men to figure it out. Old Man Lu and the others weren't stupid. When they heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, they understood that there was no need to tell them this kind of thing. The Zhang family could do it themselves. Since it was solemnly proposed, it could only mean one thing. They had to remember this kind of method. In the future, if they wanted to develop elsewhere, they couldn't forget the people who lived on the original way. Old Man Yao nodded and said, "We already know what Xiaobao said. This year's spring plowing is early. There are a few bad places in the area that don't seem to have white fold seed. Could it be that it can't be planted here?" Last winter's cotton-padded clothes and quilts played a big role. This year, it was said that many places that originally planted hemp had changed to white fold seed. Compared to the delicate food crops, white fold seed was very adaptable to the soil. The oil extracted from it could also be used to light lamps. It was a very good economic crop. Other than Old Man Lu, the other 3 old men were already used to the way the Zhang family did things. At the beginning of every year, Zhang Zhong would make a plan. There were detailed descriptions and clear diagrams. They had seen the plan for Suzhou this year. Every place was specifically divided into what should be done. There was no white fold seed in the plan. This was what they couldn't understand, so they asked. Zhang Xiaobao's planning was the clearest. His planning was not done blindly. It was done by the local officials who first sent over a plan based on the specific form of the place. They also sent over detailed data at the same time. Through modification, approval, and denial it was perfected. After hearing the question, Zhang Xiaobao replied, Grandpa Yao, my family also knows that white-fold seed is more profitable and can increase the income of the people. However, Suzhou definitely can't be planted now. Suzhou is a food production area, and it has the water transportation from the Yangtze River and the canal. The food in the capital is estimated to still not be enough this year, so we need to transfer it from this route. White-fold seed is good, but it's a waste to plant it in such a place. Suzhou not only pursues economic development, but also needs to ensure the emergency supply of food in the capital. It's fine to plant it in the cold and saline land. If the land here isn't good, then plant soybeans. Wang Wan also added, the output of white-fold seed is low. Can't be compared to hemp. Suzhou doesn't need to use cotton-padded clothes and quilts. It's enough to make paper and weave fishing nets with hemp. If we unilaterally pursue the profit of a certain economic crop, there won't be any changes to the income and expenditure. If we don't have enough hemp, we still have to buy it from other places. The four old men paid attention to the Zhang family. At the same time, the three old men were often with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Otherwise, ordinary people really wouldn't understand what the two of them said. Now the two of them were using a planned economy. When transportation and productivity couldn't increase, a market economy couldn't be used. Besides, Zhang Xiaobao didn't like the market economy model. The reason why a planned economy became a market economy wasn't that the planned economy wasn't good, but that with the increase of business activities, people couldn't perfect the plan. Now, business activities were still relatively simple. If they used a market economy, it would be over. Old Man Bai and Old Man Yao were actually learning non-stop. Those who were closely involved could not see clearly. They did not have the experience of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, so they were moving forward by themselves. No one knew if it was right or wrong. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao and Old Man Pai's words, Old Man Pai thought and asked, should we learn this method in other places? There should be a model, right? How about this? You can summarize it and print it in a book and send it to the officials of the dynasty. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shook their heads at the same time. There was a model, but the model was always changing. Not to mention now, even in their time, no one dared to say which model was the best. The so-called best was to adapt to the economic and political environment of the time. Grandpa Bai, if we really write a book, there are several models. Just like the art of war, soldiers are unpredictable, and water is unpredictable. Grandpa Bai, you know how to ride the two-wheeled carriage that we made. It's not a straight line. It's a wandering between left and right to seek stability. It's not left, right, and not in the middle. It's the same for economics. It wasn't that Zhang Xiaobao couldn't write, as long as he turned his own experience and other people's experience into words. However, he was afraid that people would take what he wrote as a doctrine. If they did well, they should, but if they didn't, they would push all the blame to him. Then is there no other way? Old Man Yao felt very regretful when he heard this. He felt that the Zhang family's development model was the same, which was to take out money to build the infrastructure. It was reasonable to match the local environment and crops. It wasn't too difficult. Wang Wan saw Old Man Yao's expression and knew what he was thinking. He had thought too simply of the matter. She explained, Grandpa Yao, when other people take out the things that they have done, it's actually the same. The general situation is about the same. It's just like marching to war. It's nothing more than gathering the superior forces to annihilate a small number of enemies. Think of a way to prevent the enemy from hitting you, and you can hit the enemy. However, when it comes to the use of strategy and tactics in a real war, it's not the same at all. The grasp of the general situation, the understanding of the local area, the time difference, the environment, the terrain, and so on are all indispensable. The details determine success or failure. Oh, I'm anxious. Isn't it because your family can make the place develop faster? I hope to find a good way to make the entire Tang Empire stronger. Is there no other way? Old Man Yao was a person who had been prime minister several times. He reacted very quickly and did a self-examination. He didn't want to give up. Looking at the eyes of the four old men, Zhang Xiaobao sighed. It's difficult. Since it's to rule people by people, It depends on the ability of the officials. But the most difficult thing to grasp is the human heart. I'll write it and let the officials learn. Come, bring me the plan of Shuzhou from my yard. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao began to wait. He took the opportunity to play with the little guys for a while. In fact, the little guys didn't care about what to play. What they cared about was who played with them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were their biggest attachments. As long as there were big brothers and big sisters by their side, they would be happy. After the big pearl was turned around again and again, the plan was finally brought over. Compared with the dozens of sheets of paper that the four old men saw before, this plan was much thicker. There were hundreds of sheets of paper. Since the new year, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had been busy with this matter. Spreading out the plan, Zhang Xiaobao took out a copy and said, "This is what the four grandpas saw." He put down this copy and took out another one. Then he said, "This is the supplementary plan." Then he took out another one. "This is the emergency plan. This is the side plan that can be used when something happens. It's not easy to make a development plan. All the risks must be taken into consideration and then improved and supplemented. When learning officials are making plans, they are not allowed to have only one plan but a set. Otherwise, it will be a dereliction of duty." This was the first time the four old men had seen a detailed plan. They finally understood why Zhang Zhong could handle local affairs so smoothly. It had nothing to do with luck. It was actually paved with painstaking effort. It was no wonder that the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families were not afraid of encountering difficulties. That was because they had written down all the possible difficulties that could arise. Furthermore, they had the corresponding methods. An expert. He's indeed an expert. Old Man Chong was the worst in this aspect compared to the other three. If he were to write such a plan, he felt that he would die of exhaustion. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not say anything. They only smiled in gratification. However, they sought merit, not publicity. Old Man Pai touched the plans one by one. He looked up and said, "Xiaobao, your father shouldn't go to Luoyang next time." Chapter 592. The matter of Zhang Zhong's next official position was indeed not easy to handle. According to Zhang Xiaobao's idea, he wanted to go to a slightly more leisurely place and spend more energy on political struggles, thus helping his father practice. Old Man Pai and the other three planned to send Zhang Zhong and Wang family to a poor place to continue to do construction. Zhang Xiaobao had already paid the due price for this matter, so he was very insistent and did not agree to send his father to a poor place to be an official. Old Man Pai wanted to use an empty position to make up for the lack of rank. After arguing for a long time, Zhang Xiaobao could only temporarily put this matter on hold, saying that this matter needed to be discussed with his family first. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan found an excuse to leave, Old Man Pai was still persuading the two to discuss it with their families. In order to divert the attention of the four old men, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had to use other methods to attract their attention. First of all, the kindergarten reopened. After the new year, everyone would gather together to live and study again. Just like last year, ordinary people would not be able to enjoy this kind of treatment. Those who could enter the kindergarten were either from a rich family or a powerful family. Unfortunately, this was very different from the original intention of setting up the kindergarten. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao were also very helpless about this matter. It was not that the two of them did not want to give all the children of other families a chance, but it was really that the teachers were too lacking. Kindergarten was different from school. School only needed people with similar knowledge to be qualified. Kindergarten teachers did not need to be too knowledgeable, but they must know how to take care of children. Seemed simple, but it was difficult to actually do. Children were unable to directly understand the intentions of adults, and were usually self-centered. Zhang Xiaobao's method was to nurture them, one by one. He would try his best to find talents who were suitable for educating children. The way to divert the attention of the four old men was to have the children from kindergarten last year compete with other children who had not received such education when school reopened. For many people, this was a very boring thing to do. What could the children compete? Singing and dancing, as well as drawing and reciting. However, this kind of boring thing was to the liking of the four old men. Old Man Lu even specially left half a month to organize activities with the other three old men in order to see the educational effects of the kindergarten. Zhang Xiaobao came up with a plan that was full of loopholes. For example, the age of the children in the competition would start from 1 year old and continue until they were 6 years old. This was simply impossible. How could a 1-year-old child learn so many things? The four old men thought the same, so they had one more job, which was to perfect the plan and further develop the kindergarten's education. They hoped that more children would be able to participate in the future. Of course, they couldn't let the four old men spend too much time and energy on this kind of thing. After a few adjustments, they were almost done. Just when they felt that they had perfected the plan, Zhang Xiaobao changed the location of the competition to Hidden Mountain. Chenshan was where Li Sun's business was located. It had been under construction since last year, and some animals had been transported from other places. Together with the animals that were collected locally, although it could not be compared to the National Zoo, it was more lively. With Ernia's large amount of wheat rice stones, a large bathing pool, or rather a bathing center, was about to be built there. A few doctors were specially sent to know. Old Man Pai and the other three also followed. As for whether the bathing effect could reach the level of strengthening the body or even bringing the dead back to life, further research was needed. Finally, it's quiet. It seems that it's not a good thing to be watched by others. Without the four old men, Wang Wan felt a little uncomfortable, but she also felt more relaxed. Otherwise, every time they met, she would have to ask where Zhang Zhong was going to be an official. It was really torturous. Zhang Xiaobao also did not have to continue to be entangled with the four old men. As long as he took advantage of the spring plowing this year to come up with one or several useful new plans that could improve the local people's living standards, he believed that the imperial court would not be in a hurry to transfer his father away. I really hope that someone comes to make trouble now. That way, I will have an excuse to deal with them and let my father stay in Suzhou until next year. No matter what, I have to expand my family's business first. I can't just build it up and not get any benefits. Zhang Xiaobao tried hard to think of a way to make the imperial court give up on the idea of transferring his father away this year. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Wang Wan looked to the north, which was the direction of the capital, and asked, "The river embankment incident last year has not been settled yet. Who was it? Why didn't the imperial court say anything?" According to Li Longji's character, no matter which member of the imperial family it was, he would not let it go easily. Why is it like a stone sinking into the sea? Indeed, there has been no movement until now. No member of the imperial family in the capital has been dealt with. This matter is not handled by us, so it will probably be a little difficult. Do you think that a neighboring country is involved? They don't want to act rashly and alert the enemy. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and said. Wang Wan nodded. It's also possible. If I had the chance, I would also do the same. Use the local resources to carry out the operation, and it won't have much impact on the country. If it can be done in every region, the damage to the target country will be very great. This kind of thing is not something we can manage. Even if it is true, there will be people who will help. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's consideration was indeed good. In order to stay in Suzhou for one more year, they set aside some people during the spring plowing to build a large research base by the Wanshui River. The main research direction was on the lathe. The two people were not ready to succeed in the research of the lathe. The technology was far from there. This was just a reason to boast about the lathe to make people pay more attention to it, so that Zhang Zhong could stay in Suzhou to take charge of this work. In order to make people believe, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan invested 50,000 strings of coins to start the industrial construction. The scale was not small. The old man Pai and the other three people who were still busy in Chenshan were indeed fooled. They were already very busy, so they had to set aside some energy again. Lu Jiro was the most concerned about this industrial base. She arranged the people she brought to the industrial park to provide help, and at the same time to learn. At the same time, she also informed the imperial court of the situation here, so that the imperial court would consider more. Zhang Xiaobao's scam finally achieved its goal. He was afraid that the imperial court would transfer his father away, so another plan followed closely, and that was the medicinal herb plantation in Suzhou. No matter what kind of medicinal herbs could be planted, and no matter how successful it was in the end, it had a reputation. He asked his father to write a memorial to the imperial court to transfer people from the Xinong temple in the capital to follow the research, and the Zhang family would send people to lead. This was also a big project. It seemed that without Zhang Zhong, it would not succeed. Sure enough, this had an effect. For a while, the imperial court did not mention the matter of Zhang Zhong leaving, and the 4 people of Old Man Pai also put their energy in other places. Zhang Xiaobao did not feel that this matter was a waste of money and manpower. The money was not from the government. His family paid others to do the research. If the research was not successful in 1 year, then they would research for 2 years. If 2 years were not enough, then they would research for 10 years. He did not expect to get good results in a short time, as long as he could delay it. By the time the imperial court found out that this was a long and arduous task, his family's arrangements would be almost done. This situation was not considered a scam when he and Wang Wan were in the same situation. The technology was indeed enough, and someone had already done it. Now it was not a scam. The money was from his family, and there was not much negative impact on the people and the government. The plan was indeed going well. The spring plowing was over, and no one mentioned the matter of Zhang Zhong leaving, even though many people wanted to take advantage of Suzhou. Li Sun was also very happy. He was also busy looking for talents who could help with the construction and organization of the affairs of the prince's mansion after he left. He wanted to leave as well. Firstly, he wanted to continue learning from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Secondly, he wanted to run away from the marriage. Yes, he wanted to run away from the marriage. Other members of the imperial family had several children at his age. He was not married yet, but his father had already started looking for a wife for him. However, due to the influence of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he was not going to let his father make the arrangements. He wanted to find a woman he was satisfied with and marry her. She might not be as good as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were almost inhuman, but she should at least be as good as Xin'er's ability to earn money or Luer's knowledge. In fact, Xin'er and Luer were not bad, especially Xin'er. Their family conditions were compatible, but because they had been in contact with each other too much, Li Sun always felt that there was not that kind of passion. Moreover, Xin'er was still young. According to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's theory, it was not good for a woman at her age to get married and have children. Li Sun planned to look for one elsewhere. At the very least, he had to have a good impression of her. She had to be dignified and have time to study. Her family background could be different, but at the very least, she had to have the same hobbies and thoughts as him. She could not be so rigid. This was the goal he set. He thought it was easy to achieve, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan thought it was very difficult, especially in terms of thinking. It was like a person who came back from studying abroad and a person who grew up in a closed environment had to have the same thoughts. Not to mention which one was better, there would definitely be a gap between the two people. In order not to hurt Li Sun, the two of them specially made a plan for Li Sun, including the training of his wife. Li Sun was very grateful. He thought that training his wife was very interesting, especially after hearing the various stories that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan specially told for his family. In the stories, there was a certain noble prince who deliberately hid his identity and went elsewhere to find the princess in his heart. The various plans in Suzhou were carried out, making the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family much more stable. Just as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan believed that things would develop according to their plans, a new piece of news suddenly came from the imperial court. The human heart was hard to fathom, and Li Longji's thoughts were even harder for the average person to fathom. In addition, several important ministers in the imperial court added fuel to the fire. Zhang Zhong was finally unable to continue staying in Suzhou. Even Zhang Xiaobao's early efforts had gone to waste. "Xiaobao, it looks like your father won't be able to go to Luoyang." This was the first thing Old Man Pai, who had rushed back from Qianshan, said when he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Facing Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's puzzled gazes, Old Man Pai continued, "The new place has been decided. Your father will be going to Yizhou to be the provincial governor." "Where?" "Sichuan," Zhang Xiaobao said in surprise. Chapter 593. Receiving the news in advance made Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan very passive. They hurried back to the courtyard and found the military map. It's a good place. The whole prefecture has a population of about 4,000. There are mountains and rivers. Zhang Xiaobao found the location on the map and looked at the notes beside it. He gritted his teeth and praised. Wang Wan was also a little confused. She drew on the map and said, "The most important thing is that we don't have to worry about cold drinks in summer. We can get them when we go up the mountain. Min Mountain is to the north. Do you remember this place? I like the snow on Min Mountain even more. Also, it's close to Juzhegu. We don't need to spend money to go there now." In that case, Li Longji is not bad. He knows that the land route is difficult, so he chose a water route for us. We can go up the Yangtze River and directly reach the place. We don't have to pay rent and taxes to the capital. We have to eat 300 pounds of food on the way to the place. But I'm puzzled. Is Li Longji stupid? Why did he transfer us to Yingzhou at this time? We can get a prefecture where the rent and taxes are doubled in a year. There are about 4,000 people there and it's a plateau climate. Does he want to see if our medical team is qualified? Zhang Xiaobao couldn't figure out what Li Longji wanted to do. Even if he wanted to use people as tools, he should put them in a more suitable place. Now that they were sent to Yingzhou, they couldn't play the full role of the Zhang family. Could it be that he wanted to lead the 4,000 people to become rich? Wang Wan was also worried. She was worried about the climate there. From morning to night, there was a big temperature difference and there were many mountains. It was very normal for it to be humid. In addition, it was easy to experience altitude sickness. Thinking of this, Wang Wan asked nervously, "Xiaobao, is it possible that Li Longji is going to kill people? He sent us there so that we can't adapt to altitude sickness and directly die in Yingzhou. This way, he won't have to worry about us making more things in the future. He's not that muddle-headed. It's easy to kill people. He arranged for my father to be an official in Yaozhou, which is close to the capital. He could just send troops to kill him. Why would he arrange for him to be sent to Yingzhou? He probably had some difficulties as well. Why don't we go over and take a look? We don't have any medicine for altitude sickness. If you don't know how to make Tibetan roseroot, don't even think about making the rest of the herbs. You still have to make a pressure cooker. Otherwise, you'll have to eat fried and barbecued food. Think about it. Since we're going there, we have to go there and take a look. We can't die from altitude sickness." Zhang Xiaobao thought of his family. Fortunately, they were still in Yizhou. If they were sent to Tibet, it would be even worse. The only thing he could comfort himself with was that the place where his family used to live was also a plateau. Although it was relatively low, he was afraid that the little ones would not be able to adapt. "So we have to go." There was still butter tea and Salvia miltiariza pills to use. Should he make a sealed jar, put the person in it, and then suck the air out bit by bit, just like sucking the air out of a light bulb? Let a low pressure form inside. "Let's train in advance," Wang Wan asked. "Oh, isn't it just a small population? Don't be afraid. That place is where the mountains are high and the emperor is far away. We have prepared enough medicine, but we don't need to train. The equipment is not easy to make." Zhang Xiaobao really did not believe in this. Wasn't it just a place that was a little remote, with poor conditions and a small population? When Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao had made up his mind, She put away the map and suddenly thought of a very important matter. Xiao Bao, the people there don't seem to be easy to deal with. It's okay. Ethnic issues are not a problem. As long as they eat, as long as they wear clothes, as long as they are not sick, we can communicate with them. In the beginning, there were no ethnic groups. They were just 8 people who lived in various places. If we were to calculate based on regions, then where was the Central Plains? Just a small place. Zhang Xiaobao was not concerned about a certain ethnic group. Instead, he was concerned about how to develop when he arrived at the place. It seemed that it was not so easy. After the two of them finished their discussion, they looked for Old Man Pai and gave him a reply. Seemed like Li Longji had the same idea. Otherwise, he would not have released the news. Grandpa Bai, my family agrees. Let's go to Wing Province. However, Wing Province is a lower province. My father's grade. Zhang Xiaobao began to make his request when he saw the 4 old men. Old Man Pai and the others thought that the Zhang family and the Wang family would think of a way to refuse. They did not expect them to agree so quickly. After calculating the situation there, he said, Xiaobao, don't worry. When you're there, your father will still be in charge of the military and political affairs. Moreover, there will be a higher rank. He can only be promoted and won't be demoted. Zhang Xiaobao pursed his lips. There were only about 4,000 people in total, and they might not be able to control them. Were they not going to integrate the military and political affairs? Were they going to send another registrar to the army? Were they going to give him all the other positions? He reckoned that when he arrived, he would only see a few officials who were sent away. That place was even more dangerous than Luzhou. The officials who were sent away had a slim chance of survival. Zhang Xiaobao was depressed that he did not get the benefits he deserved in exchange for the recipe. He had to mention this. If he did not mention it, he would be worried. Grandpa Bai, let me make this clear. That place is different from other places. My family will need to bring a lot of refined iron this time. Otherwise, we won't even be able to make farming tools. Also, if the price of salt in the local wells is too high in the future, my family will have to choose a salt pool near the estuary of the Yangtze River. We won't be stopped when we transport salt to Wing Province. Sure. As long as your family can fix the road there and build a 4-lane road to the capital, it'll be a great contribution. This time, Old Man Yao was the one who made the promise. He was still looking forward to fixing the road. Don't. My family doesn't want this great contribution. We can't afford it. Grandpa Yao, you don't know what's going on there, right? I really want to fix that road. I'll invest all the money my family earns every year. After 30 to 50 years, I might be able to build a road that can take 2 carriages from there to the capital. But what's the use of that? The purpose of road repair is to facilitate transportation and make the place rich. If my family earns 30 years of profit, it's better to give the money directly to the locals. It won't be used much every year. When the day comes that the road needs to be repaired, someone will naturally find a way. Zhang Xiaobao was shocked by Old Man Yao's words. He was very clear about the situation there. If they used stones to repair it, it would be damaged after a few heavy rains. If they used cement, it was not suitable. There was no asphalt. Wasn't it cheating people? Why not build a 4-lane road from Sichuan to Tibet? The contribution was greater. If they crossed the Himalayas and built a 4-lane road, they could directly connect to Nepal. Maybe it would be convenient for international exchanges. Nonsense. Zhang Xiaobao's straightforward answer made the 4 old men feel inconceivable. Didn't the Zhang family and Wang family like to build roads very much? Wherever the Zhang family and Wang family were, they would help to build the road first. Why were they so timid when it came to Wing Province? Xiaobao, does your family have any plans for Wing Province? Ever since Lu Jiro saw the construction plan for Xuzhou, she was interested in this matter. My family's first plan is how to get there alive. For grandpas, this is not becoming an honorable official. It's no different from being banished. How difficult would it be to go upstream along the Yangtze River? We can't give up on the waterway and take the land route. That would be even worse. Zhang Xiaobao expressed the dissatisfaction in his heart. If it made people feel relaxed, perhaps they could send him to Mo next time. It would be more convenient to make ice lanterns there. Zhang Xiaobao expressed his intentions clearly and hurried back to the courtyard with Wang Wan to make arrangements. The four old men stood in place, not knowing what to say. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao had previously agreed to arrange for Zhang Zhong to go to Luoyang and even took his prescription. Now that the situation had changed, they felt guilty when facing Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. After returning to the courtyard, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't stay idle. They were about to leave. Li Longji probably couldn't wait until tomorrow, or else he wouldn't have sent the news now. It was very likely that the appointment would come in the summer. The business here hadn't been set up yet. They had to recoup their investment first. Even if they had to leave, they had to first stabilize the business in Suzhou. When they reached Wing Province, they would need to build roads, but not roads to the capital. They would need to build roads to Chengdu, which would cost a lot of money. Zhang Xiaobao was hoping to take out the profits from Suzhou. Taking out a business map of Suzhou, Zhang Xiaobao pointed to a place. Here, build a leather processing plant. When the local people raise pigs, they will gather the pig hides here for processing. In the counties, build processing plants for sausages, ham, and bacon. The sausages will be sent to nearby places, and the ham and bacon will be sold further away. The pig's hair will also be left behind to be used to make brushes. The poultry's hair will also be left behind. When the time comes, it will be sent to Sanshui County to be processed into down jackets and duvets. What else haven't you thought of? Help me think about it. It's too urgent. There are also fish and crabs raised in sets. Although it's to increase rice production, we can't waste it. The meat will be dried and the corresponding processing plant will be built. The shells and bones will be ground into powder and mixed with other crops to be fodder. We can send it to the Yangtze River, which is the south bank. I believe that they will be willing to cooperate with us. In addition to the local business activities, should we send a few boats to go up the river and make arrangements in advance? There are two big families, not to mention Grandpa Bai and the others. Wang Wan followed suit. At the same time, she also acted as a secretary and wrote down what they thought of. Yes, we have to send people out first. It's not easy to travel on the waterway, so we don't have to use them off if we can. Send 20 people out from Team 0 to get used to the weather first. It's best to find more people before we leave. We can't just have Team 0. Since it's far away from Beijing and this place is special, we should expand the protection team. Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to suffer losses. If there was an opportunity to make up for the losses, he would use it. You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.